Yo, 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 yo. What's up, what's up, what's up? And give up the rack. And hello to my fellow revolutionaries. You know who you are. And welcome to today's live stream. It is Monday, the 8th of June. And it is a public holiday in the wonderful land of Oz. That's right. That's right. All of you Australians out there enjoying your freedom. Really? Enjoy that time that is gifted to you away from the clutches of capital, out of the economy, where you can go and, be a good consumer or something like that. I hope you're enjoying yourself and your time off. If you are working, though, I hope you get duly compensated and you get some type of, time in lieu or, double time or something great like that. Everybody loves working a public holiday just for the double time and a half. Long live the king, ? Meh. Yes, and for our international audience who's probably wondering, well, why the hell are the Australians on a public holiday? It's the king's birthday. All right. Thank God for colonization or colonialism. Sorry. Dilemma's in the house. Jag, how you going? Hobo Joe, so thankful that the king has a birthday today. That's not really their birthday after all. Who would have bloody thought? Who would have thunk it? Our one and only faking their birthday so we can all celebrate. But hey, let's not think about that. Let's just think about the fact that people out there get an excuse to be off, to have another day of freedom. Because that is the ultimate goal, I think, with any advancement of the civilization that we have around us, is to give us more and more of ye old freedom. Like the freedom to do what you choose, not like just freedom escaping work or something like that for another form of enslavement. I mean like actual autonomy. So yeah, here's to that type of celebration with public holidays. You get to choose what you want to do with your time. I hope you are constructive with it. I hope you are very constructive. So today is going to be a public holiday stream. So it's going to just be a little bit more relaxed. I think there is a couple of things that I want to check, like, global news. Apparently, Iran, the Iranian situation has escalated a bit, and like the Iranians are firing at is not rail. So I do want to get what the goss is on that. But like outside of that, there's been a few suggestions to watch this, to watch that kind of thing. I think Spandonk put something recently in, which is the interview for DM25. So DM25 is an organization set up by Yanis Varoufakis, so like a European political party that advocates for actual democracy. And so Yanis was supposed to do like a speaking tour with Hasan Piker, and Hasan, if you haven't heard, like famously got rejected from the UK. And he's not allowed to go there. And so he joins the ranks of people like, Candace Owens and all the big political commentators or thought leaders, however you want to describe them, who have been banned from going to other countries because they're too controversial. And so like there's a bit of drama there. And so we're actually going to hear Yanis and Hasan, I guess, talk about that. I like to pay my respects to Yanis, as always, and I'd like to hear his thoughts on it. So Spandonk has suggested that I would like to have a look at that. I think Bandsword Bandit has also suggested a piece of Chris Hedges' work, which ties in kind of to some of the deep state military and fashy discussion that we've been having about the development of fascism and like how Trump might be a sign of the development of fascism in the US. So like Chris Hedges is a very interesting independent journalist and does some pretty cutting stuff, and so like I thought we'd just sit back and watch some of that type of stuff today and comment on it at great length, etc., as we normally do. But like, happy to take suggestions. It's going to be one of those type of free-for-all days celebrating the public holiday, because I just don't know who's coming in and out today, if we have the regular bunch or not. I'd say hopefully people are out enjoying their freedom on a public holiday. I hope they are. I hope that is you. What's this? Today is your birthday. Okay. Australia tells King. Yeah, it's not even... I didn't even know when his birthday is, right? It was the same thing with the Queen, I guess. Right. Laugh Jeff, I am here. Are you enjoying a public holiday today then? Or are you like, again, like you usually are, on the grind, listening in while you're working away? Dropped an article about NYC banning surveillance pricing. If you want a quickie, yeah, fuck yeah. Yes, I do. What do you mean, like banning? You know, this is that the pricing that we looked at, I don't know, a few months ago now, where we're investigating like how they fix prices on the shelf, and like what's their name? More Perfect Union did a piece on it, and we watched other people do like an investigation on it as well. It's actually New York State as a whole. Interesting. Wow, that was a very interesting little investigation. You wouldn't read about it, I'm assuming. You put it in there? No. Yes, you have. There it is. All right, let's have a look. Yeah, let's have a look at look-sees. Only on for days. Only on for days. Am I on the grinder? Okay. Let's have a look at this article, shall we? Like I said, free for all today. So if you've got any suggestions and you want to go through things, only on Fridays am I on the grinder. It's with our favorite banana boys. Hey, I think we all get on the grinder for that. All right, let's have a look at this. I'm going to open up a window so you can actually see what's going on here. Very keen for some Yanis today. Yeah, so am I. And like, you know, Yanis and Hasan. Hey, I'd like to see what they have to say about being banned. Well, Yanis is not banned, but Hasan is. New York just banned shops from charging you more based on your browsing history and personal data. How can they ban that? The One Fair Price Act aims to eliminate personalized pricing based on consumer data. Okay, so we were watching some investigation. We looked into some investigation, like what, a few months ago, maybe longer now, about this idea of price, like electronic pricing. So have you ever been to the shops and they have like electronic price tags on the shelves? Or if you shop online, like you do your grocery shopping online, there is plenty of evidence out there to suggest that like they manufacture or like they price according to you personally. And so like if they understand that you're in a geographic or if you're in a demographic that will potentially spend a little bit extra, like we're talking about like, you know, maybe 10 cents, 20 cents differences in pricing, maybe $1. I don't know. It's like, it's small, but en masse, like if we're talking about millions of people shopping in a certain area, that's like millions of dollars of additional income by like personalizing prices towards you. And like this happens not just online when you're shopping online, but like it also happens in the shops. If there's electronic pricing data and they're watching people spend money on a particular item in one shop, then they will artificially like warp the price in that shop because they know people are spending money on it because they're tracking all of this stuff at all times. And like this is the wonderful world of AI, also known as the world of surveillance capitalism. So we were watching people investigate how they are warping prices and tailoring them to the individual. This is the beauty of individualism, right? You can charge to the individual, and like you charge you or your neighbor gets charged one price and you get charged another. It's like, should you get charged more than your neighbor? Should there be a set price for everything? Everybody gets charged the same. Is that the egalitarian utopia that everyone thinks the free market should be about? Or like, is it deserve it? Like if you have certain spending habits, should they not price gouge your ass because you're more likely to buy apples instead of oranges, so they charge you more for apples? I don't know how comfortable you feel with that. So it's interesting that the state has stepped in on this one. The state of New York. New York's legislator has passed the country's strongest ban on surveillance pricing. I wonder why they have that hyperlinked. Do they have another article to that? Interesting. Okay. We'll do that differently. Making it illegal for businesses to charge consumers different prices based on who they are rather than what they're buying. So they collect data on you and they figure out what you're likely to do and they'll charge you accordingly. Like, what do you think about this? Is this like the this is the manifestation of the free market in its finest glory right here. Like, honestly, right here. Not only can they, manufacture what you want, they manufacture your desires through keen marketing, but now they can figure out exactly what price you're willing to pay for it compared to somebody else, and they'll charge you accordingly. Is this just the free market sorting itself out to provide the best goods and services, or is this just like price gouging, basically like fancy price gouging because they've got artificial intelligence now? On the 5th of June 2026, both chambers of the New York State Legislature passed the One Fair Price Act, a bill that prohibits companies from using personal data such as browsing history, real-time location, income, or inferred household size to generate individual prices for shoppers. Isn't that fucked? Like, they're watching how much, like, how do they even know what your income is? Like, ask yourself that in this surveillance capitalist world that we live in. Like, okay, they might know your real-time location because your phone's just a tracking device. And yeah, they know your browsing history because you use it all in time. Like, why the fuck do they know your income? I thought that was between you, your employer, and the tax office. Like, why the fuck do they know that? Why? Why, I ask you, why? That's surveillance to the next level, I'm telling you. I heard a claim that the reason the pro-life debate is starting up in Australia is to drive a wedge between us, because more Aussies are starting to want the billionaire class to be taxed more, and the gas tax, etc. Thought, what? What, so they're using another debate to split us because people are starting to be like, hey, let's tax the billionaires. Like, where did you hear that? Like, it makes complete sense to me. That's my usual gripe, is like a lot of culture wars stuff, is like someone set an agenda and they're like, hey, look over here kind of thing. And like, they don't want you to talk about like taxing or, I don't know, class politics, like some type of policy decision that's going to affect them in the long term. But they're like, hey, you plebs, how do you feel about abortion, eh? You better pick a side on that issue, left or right. Where do you sit? That's crazy. Where did you hear that claim? Where? They got you fighting culture war to stop you fighting class war. There it is. That's a good picture too. Hey, how'd you find this? Little MAGA hat and a purple head. Woman. Is it a woman? We'll never know. Hey, maybe that's what they're fighting about. There's a bit of a religious revival going on, hence the abortion debate, being led by Dr. Joanna Lowe. Okay, that's the claim. I heard it from a video, but I forgot to save it. Do a quick search. Yeah, it's an interesting claim, isn't it? Like, the culture wars. Hey, why do we enter into the culture wars? And like, this is part of the thing that we were talking about like last week. I think, to be honest, like when Jordan was in, we were speaking about this, and I was talking about how universal enfranchisement is like not that great in a bourgeois system, because the bourgeois political system was never meant for everybody to get involved. It was more meant for just the people that were running and managing the economy or were effective in the economy. They should be running the show. They didn't want universal enfranchisement. They didn't want everybody to have the vote. So like, I'm not against everyone having the vote. Like, I think it's a great idea that everyone gets politically active. But the system isn't designed, like a bourgeois system isn't designed for everyone to have the vote. And so in order for them, I think, the bourgeois that is, to be able to keep control over the system and like be able to coordinate the masses, because like the big fear was always from the bourgeois was like, once you let the masses vote, they're just going to vote in their own interests. And they're going to pass laws to tax the rich and take all their money away or take all their property away. They were really concerned about that. And so like, instead of just having them all being one big voter block, you stoke the culture wars. And you have this. These two little people here fighting over like, I don't know, the minute political differences. Like issues that are probably significant to them, I would say. But like, this guy's cheering. Look at this guy. He's got a top hat and everything. Yes, that's right. Fight. Split yourselves in two. Good. Yeah, interesting claim Very interesting claim. It'd be nice to see evidence to back that up, and then you'd be like, we talk about this all the time. No way. The bill now awaits the signature of Governor Kathy Hochul, who has until the end of 2026 to act. If signed, New York becomes the third U.S. state to outlaw the practice, following Maryland and Connecticut, both of which passed equivalent laws earlier this year. The war on surveillance capitalism, JAG. This is the war against the surveillance capitalists. Like, this is a level of class war. Like, if this is curtailing the ability of the surveillance capitalists to use their technology to rein in like mega profits, then like this is some proper class war stuff right here. Very interesting. And like, I wonder who proposes bills like this. Where does this come from? What advocacy group? Is this just another section of the capitalist class that hates the surveillance capitalists? Or is this like some grassroots organization, like actual people who are sick of price gouging, that are like attacking this? Is this like a union thing? So it's like a class war between workers and capitalists? Or is this like a consumer class war? That'd be interesting. Yeah, this is right up our alley for sure. But like, whose war is it? Do you reckon it's like a consumer protection group? Because like, consumer rights are important. Don't get me wrong. But like, we often conflate the class war with consumer law or consumer warfare. Because like, we're all consumers, right? But like, even like, everyone's a consumer, even like the capitalist class or the bourgeois or something like that. I wonder who started this law. Actually, you know, I wonder if our research assistant would be able to find that. One Fair Price Act, New York State. I wonder who starts this type of stuff. I wonder if our research assistant would be able to tell us the history of this. What's it called again? The One Fair Price Act, New York State. It appears that in New York State, the legislator has passed the One Fair Price Act to curtail individual pricing in the shops or online shopping. Are you able to find out who was behind this act? Was it a grassroots organization? Was it an NGO, etc.? It'd be really interesting to find this out, actually. Yes, based on reporting and official statements available so far, the driving force behind the One Fair Price Act appears to have been a coalition led by New York Attorney General's office rather than single grassroots campaign. The legislation was publicly championed by Letitia James and sponsored by legislated by Rachel May and Emerita Torres. What's also interesting, the bill was backed by a fairly broad alliance of labor unions, consumer advocates, and senior citizens organizations. So good, man. The old people are like, hey, why is the price of everything going up? So good. That's it. We're taking the fight. We're going to our elected representative, AFL-CIO RUDSU. I don't know what that is. I've heard of the other one. UFC W. All right. AARP. Other local advocates. There is also evidence of consumer advocacy organizations played a significant role in reshaping the debate. Think tank advocacy group, Groundwork Collaborative. As long as it's not ground news. That's the main thing. Trump stormed out of an interview as well, LOL, when asked about election rigging. Get fucked. I'd love to see that. Do you have a clip of that? I'd love to see it. Like, stormed out. Didn't say, hey, fake news, get out of here. It was just like, all right, fuck this, interview over. That's crazy. If I can't find the video that I watched, I will be better prepared next time. No, fair enough. It's an awesome claim, and I'd love to fucking see where people Like, some people have the ability and the research teams and stuff like that to go out and investigate this stuff. One day we will have those resources and we'll do our own research with blackjack and hookers. But until then, I'm just going to rely on potentially credible sources and be like, I told you. So if you're asking who is behind it, the answer is probably the New York Attorney General's office, state legislators, consumer advocacy groups, labor unions. Look at them all. There's 4 labor unions. So we can say that this is class war. Like, the workers out there are are concerned about price gouging and the cost of living, and their unions are out there fucking fighting for it. The broader anti-surveillance pricing coalition concerned about retailers. And this is from New York State Attorney General. Oh my God. You found it. Oh, good. Oh, it's with NBC. Hey, woke rubbish. No wonder why he walked out on these douchebags. Hey, am I right? Interesting. Thank you. Thanks, Dilemmas. We'll have a watch in a second. How will one Fair Price Act will be enforced? The legislation targets a practice the industry variously calls personalized pricing or surveillance pricing. In plain terms, it means a company can know enough about you through your device, your search history, your purchase behavior, even your battery level to calculate exactly how much you are willing to pay and charge you accordingly. Your battery level? What the fuck does that mean? All right, I got to ask. I am so curious. Does that mean like your phone's about to die and you really want this thing, so they just like jack up the price? They'll pay for it now before their phone dies? Come on. Has anyone got to speculate on that one? What the fuck does that mean? What a fucking surveillance world we live in. Like, honestly. Here's an excerpt from the article on surveillance pricing. I quote the following. Can you please speculate on how knowing someone's battery level can affect what price you may charge them as a company practicing personalized pricing? Easy prey, low battery people are desperate? What the fuck? Dude, that's fucking nuts. How you going, Rogue, by the way? Hope you're well. Isn't that easy prey? God. This is a very predatory industry, isn't it? Battery level example is often used because it illustrates how seemingly irrelevant pieces of data can act as proxies for urgency, convenience, or willingness to pay. Okay, there is limited public evidence that companies are currently charging different prices specifically because of battery level, but researchers and regulators have long discussed it as a kind of signal that could be used. Yeah, okay, fine. Here's a hypothetical: low battery, high urgency. Imagine you're at an airport with 4% battery remaining, and you open a ride-hailing app. The algorithm might be like, you're unlikely to spend time comparison shopping. You need to ride quickly before your phone dies. You're less likely to abandon the purchase. Oh my God, this is fucked. Bro, we haven't looked at surveillance capitalism in ages, man. Oh my God, this stuff is creepy. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Remember to treat your phone with respect, okay? Because however you use it, it's going to use you the same way. So like, you know, if you're respectful with it and don't abuse it, it might not abuse you. Protect your fucking data. Suppose a hotel booking app sees you're far from home, it's late at night, your battery is nearly dead. This might conclude that you're in a vulnerable position and need accommodation immediately. Dude, this is fucking nuts. Battery level as proxy for socioeconomic status. Oh, this is your one, Rogue, right? Easy prey. This is more speculative, but data scientists often use indirect indicators. For example, users with older phones may have different spending patterns. Users who frequently run their phones nearly flat may have different behavioral profiles. The battery level it's itself isn't important. It becomes another data point for predictive modeling. Okay. I thought they were going to say you're poor if your battery's running out all the time. And so, like, you can, I don't know, treat people differently. Ravy in the house. Hi. How you going? Okay. Listen to this predatory behavior. We're learning about surveillance pricing. So, like, big tech. And, like, isn't it scary? Like, it's okay when it's in America. No offense, Americans. But, like, for Australians, like, what is it that Coles is really doing being attached to, like, Palantir? You know how Palantir's, like, helping them deliver a better service kind of thing? Like, what is it that Palantir really does for Coles? Is it stuff like this? Like, you know how when you go somewhere, they constantly ask you for your rewards card or, I don't know, whatever other scheme that they have to fucking like scrape data off you. I wonder if they're helping Coles with this type of stuff. The Trump interview was funny as fuck. Why he's sitting in a barn? Why is there machinery going off? Why is there a John Deere in the background? Yeah, why? We're gonna have to watch that then and find out. It's true. That's why my battery is on 9%. Why? Because you are POV. Is that why? Or you're like, you have impulse control issues maybe? I wonder what behavioral profiles they have around people with low batteries. That's very interesting. Reduced ability to shop around. If algorithm knows your battery is 2%, it might predict you're less likely to open competing apps, compare prices, leave the transaction unfinished. I'm poor. Yeah. Well, they're watching you. This customer would probably pay up to 37 for this item, while another customer would pay 29. Up to 37. Well, anyway, this has been outlawed, it would seem. Stuff like this has been outlawed in ye old New York State. I have medically diagnosed impulse controls issues. Well, they're watching your battery usage, so throw them off every now and again and charge your phone before you do shopping, and they're just like, oh shit. We can't predict what to really drop the prices. Drop them. The bill outlaws any price set by an algorithm that uses a consumer's data to charge different customers different amounts for the same item. It covers online and in-store transactions. Crucially, I think that's really important actually. Online and in-store transactions. Crucially, businesses must also disclose clearly when they're using automated pricing systems at all, which brings a transparency requirement alongside the outright ban. Very interesting. Rock half chub and live vicariously. I ride 2/3 charge. That way they never pin me down. Man, I'm going to have to rethink my habits. Like, I honestly, I like to get my battery to almost, like, I think it's good for the battery to fill it up and then, like, let it almost die before charging again. So, like, it actually fills up. It's you know, that's how I was told. It's good for batteries. I think the newer batteries, it doesn't really matter. But, like, that's crazy. That's fucking mental. You're being watched. This is the fucking lesson. You know, I always say off the cuff these days about, surveillance capitalism or techno-feudalism. Like, this is what it's about. Like, this is the world now, ladies and gentlemen. It's no longer just companies, that, like, convince you to buy things with effective advertising, you know, make you pine for the good old days and be all nostalgic or something. They just attack you directly by scraping your data. Honestly, data is the new oil. It really is. Enforcement sits with the New York Attorney General's office. Civil penalties start at $5,000 per initial violation and up to $20,000 for repeating offenses. Fucking slap on the hand for some people. Slap on the wrist, sorry. Nothing there. One weakness identified by advocates is that Consumer Reports has called on Governor Hochul to reinstate a private right of action that was removed from the bill during amendments, which would allow individual consumers to sue companies rather than relying solely on the Attorney General to act. Well. See, this is the bourgeois political system. Let's just read that one more time, right? So, like, when the legislation is going through, okay, the legislator can be like, we're sticking up for consumers, and we're going to bring in an end to all of this surveillance pricing. So you have more in your pocket at the end of the day. Well. As it went through, what do? They removed a section there which would allow individual consumers to sue companies directly than relying on the Attorney General. Because at the moment, you need the right type of governor and Attorney General to actually want to enact the legislation. If the Attorney General is told to fucking back off this stuff, it's just a piece of legislation that sits there collecting dust and is fucking meaningless. And so people are putting the pressure on to be like, before you sign this one in, can you make sure you put that thing back so consumers have some power, please? If they're doing the wrong thing, consumers should be able to get them for that. Like false advertising or something, not just the state who's controlled anyway. The new oil, and it can't get trapped in the Strait of Hormuz. No, it can only get cut off when like Russia and China are out there with their scissors underwater going snip, snip, snip and taking away all the undersea cables that connect the world together. Watch out. Chinese and the Russians are coming to get you. Snippy snip, one snip at a time. That's why we need more fucking satellites. Thank you, Elon Musk. Discounts for seniors, teachers, and similar groups remain lawful, as do loyalty program promotions. Yes, I'm sure they do. The carve-out preserves pricing that benefits consumers without exploiting their data profile. What the law targets is the reverse, charging someone more because an algorithm has determined they can afford it or are unlikely to shop elsewhere. That's just good capitalism right there, isn't it? Like, if I was a libertarian, I wonder what Han the Fixer thinks of this. Hey, that's an attack on the free market. If you've developed technology that can determine whether someone can afford it more or are unlikely to shop elsewhere, that sucks for them for being a shitty consumer. How dare you take that out on the market players that are trying to squeeze a little bit more profit out. Master Sergeant Bodoy, let's say. Your choose for support Israel. Your choose for support Israel or Palestine. Does it have to be binary? Do I have to choose one? And like on what issue? Like, are they playing soccer? Or is this like a warfare thing? Master Sergeant Bodoy. Or maybe Palestine is entering into Eurovision, and will I vote for Israel or Palestine in Eurovision? Did you say Ethan Klein lost his copyright lawsuit to his own fair use case precedent? The judge quoted his own case back at him 12 times as to why he should lose. Speaking of bourgeois litigants, no, I haven't heard. I have just heard off the cuff you and like Spandong talking about this case and why it's so fucking important. And so like he lost. So like his thing about like content creators not being able to watch other people's stuff and make content, like reaction content, he lost out on that. And like that's seminal, right? That's a huge precedent, I'm assuming, Ravy, because like it protects content creators like him who like to react to other people's shit, I'm assuming. All right. Investigations that drove push for legislation. The political momentum behind the bill was built on documented evidence, not theory. 2025 Consumer Reports, alongside Groundwork Collaborative and More Perfect Union, that's the one we watched, published a joint investigation into Instacart's pricing practices. Nearly 400 volunteer shoppers across 4 cities purchased identical baskets of groceries at the same store at the same time. The findings were stark. 74% of the items showed at least 2 different prices across shoppers. For some products, the gap between the highest and the lowest price reached 23%. At one Safeway in Seattle. Is Seattle the place with the guy with the bins? I can't remember. Was he from Seattle? Show me your bins. Where are you at? The gap between the highest and the lowest price reached 23%. Sorry, Safeway in Seattle. The same box of wheat thins carried 5 different price points depending on who was checking out. Oh, disagreeing with his speech equals transformative content. Sorry, wait. Yes, he lost. The judge deemed that the React content fair use by matter of law. Fuck. That's interesting. I bet you there was a whole bunch of like platforms out there that were secretly behind, like going against this because they don't want to have all of their content impacted, right? That'd be like a big blow for a lot of their content creators. Volta said, more Perfect Union does some pretty good stuff. Does have a feel of mainstream media as well. Yeah, I think it does some very interesting stuff. Like it does have a feel of mainstream media as well. Like, you mean it has the feeling of a mainstream media outlet? Is that what you mean by that? Or it has a feel, like it understands the mainstream media and it's across it. Because like I feel like they do some interesting investigations. Like I have no idea their allegiances though. Like why are they out there doing this? Are they completely independent journalists? Are they? Are they just out on the beat, muckrackers? Or are they like kind of supported by someone? As we always tend to find out, right? No, not really. People were pretty assured she would lose at face value without reading the documents. Sorry, not really. Oh, okay. But I wonder if the platforms, though, wanted this case to fall over. Because, like, it all affects so much of the content that's out there. Like, it has some corporate capital investment behind it. It's polished as fuck. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so, like, I wonder who this corporate capital investment behind it is. And, like, how much it sways their investigations. Like, do they just do investigations or do they do hit pieces because they're told they're allowed to go that way? Like what we've seen with the Australia Institute and the whole gas tax debate in Australia. Like, it's a fair debate, but, like, it's being fueled by one section of the capitalist class that wants to bring down its rivals. So, like, you know, at the end of the day, we're just getting fucking played again. Like the fucking plebs we are. I have a fun story for you. I'd done a job for a new pizza shop in town. I sent the final invoice on Saturday and he replied with, I'm not paying until you try our pizza. So I went there and they gave me a free pizza. I call that a good deal. Still waiting on payment though. Okay. Well, as long as they pay you, but it's pretty hilarious how they figured it out. We ain't paying you until you try our pizza. Here's a freebie. That's nice, but like I hope they're not paying you in pizza. Like, unless you want that, and you just be like, look, according to the accounts, the outstanding, that's about 200 pizzas. I'll be here for the next fucking 5 years to pick that up. The platforms were not supportive of the streamers. They stayed quiet about it, apart from capitulating to the litigants, in my opinion. Interesting. But they stayed silent, or they were advocating for, like, Ethan Klein? Because I think those are two massively different things. Just here to watch Trash Fire. How you going? What's up, guys? How's it been? It's good to have you. Hope you're well. We're just learning about surveillance capitalism here. I'm putting it down to public holiday delay on payments. It's happened before. Okay. Well, I hope you get what's yours. Pizza's a commodity. It is it's a highly valued commodity as well, especially on public holidays. Hey, who wants to cook? Just go get a pizza. Well, this is very interesting nonetheless. Hey, very interesting stuff. Thank you for the contribution. Like I said, we're doing a public holiday stream today, so like we're open for submissions. So if you've got something interesting that you want to share, let's get into it. I'm going to have a look at this because two people have talked about this now. Trump walking out in an interview. Is it like the whole interview? Do we have to watch Trump ramble on? It'd be better if he fell asleep though. Oh, it's only two minutes. Oh, fuck yeah. It's just the cut. Yeah, what are they doing? Why are they in a warehouse? Is it so Trump can appeal to his base? The MAGA base? Don't worry. Don't forget about MAGA. Okay, we'll put John Deere in the background. That's a great way to appeal to MAGA. So, e.g., terms of service breach multiple times, including D threats. Yeah. From one side being unpunished, the other side getting multiple day bans, etc. Interesting. Well, I can't argue that I can't feed my family on pizza. Well, I can't. Yeah, exactly. So, like, you know, if they're going to give you free pizzas for the next 5 years or something, then, like, hey, then you don't have to spend that money on pizza. And then you won't get taxed on it either. I just saw the highlights from the news report. Haven't seen the whole thing. Yeah, I don't know if I want to. Do we have the patience for that? He always helps the farmers, the corporations that own all the farming capital. Yes. Because I remember watching a piece by these communists. They're called the Midwestern Marxists. If you ever come across them, probably not. But they went out to like a strike at a John Deere factory, and they're all like they're all hardcore MAGA people there, wearing their MAGA hats and working for John Deere as John Deere was scaling back its operations and firing all these workers and stuff like that. And they were out there and they're just like, we strike with you. And they're like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? And they're like, well, that's what communists do. They're like, support working class struggles. And they were like talking to all these MAGA people, and they're like, oh, that's what commies are? That's crazy. So yeah, I'm sure when you put John Deere there, the MAGA base loves that. Yeah, I think I saw that, LOL. It's pretty funny, isn't it? Anyway, the Trump interview is... Okay. All right. Ethan's also trying to get permission to serve Reddit and Discord at Mystery. So there's a lot still up in the air platform-wise. Remember, Ethan was responsible for demonetizing political tab on Twitch. Yes. Yeah, fair enough. But like heaps of people would have supported that, right? Because like everyone was sick, like the big capitalists out there, like fucking Bezos, right? He would have not, like everyone else, not been happy to criticize Israel. So demonetizing politics isn't a big hit for him. It makes political sense, I'd say. All right, let's listen.
Tonight, President Trump saying the Iranian regime has no choice but to make a deal during an exclusive interview with Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker.
You have been saying for months, Mr. President, that Iran is begging to make a deal.
True.
They are so desperate to make a deal. Why haven't they made a deal with you yet?
Because it's a very hard thing for them. They've had great independence. They've dealt with very weak and ineffective leadership on behalf of the United States and other countries, frankly, that allowed them to get away with murder. And I think they can't believe they're in the situation where they've been virtually decapitated.
But if they're so desperate, Mr. President, why?
Yeah, what's with the birds chirping and stuff in the background? What is this about? Seriously, why are they here? Why
haven't they said yes to the terms you're proposing?
Strong. They're proud. There are things they never thought they'd be doing that they're going to have to do. They've got no choice. And it takes a little while. You know, you're talking about 47 years of getting away with whatever they wanted. I mean, this should have been done long ago. This should have been done by other presidents or other countries.
When pressed, President Trump adding that Iran has 21 or 22% of its missile capacity left. Today, he arrived in Wisconsin, backing Republicans here ahead of the midterms, touting progress in the Iran conflict and on the economy.
The jobs numbers, I guess you saw them this morning. They just got released, and they smashed all expectations by actually 3 times.
Making a push on the economy, touting today's stronger than expected
Damn,
jobs
I want to see him
report.
walk out,
the
though.
U.S. adding one.
He actually walked out of this interview. Is this the one? Because they're not going to show it. Maybe I have to do the whole one.
I'd like to talk big picture now, Mr. President. One of your consistent campaign promises was no new wars, going all the way back to 2015.
Does he walk out? Is that like the actual thing? Somebody, please. Why is his chair so ill-fitting? Fake news. How dare she press him? Fake news. Also, meteor was spotted falling in America. Meteor. Unidentified meteor. Did jobs actually increase? Yeah, he insulted her and walked out? Oh, fuck yeah. Where is that? I gotta see this. Trump walks out of Meet the Press. Here it is. Oh, God. I hate these type of channels that just like, oh my God, did you see this? Fucking oh, here's the full one. It must be in here then.
This Sunday, turning point. My exclusive interview with President Trump as the war with Iran reaches.
And you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
Mr. President,
You know why? Into their hands.
count the votes.
You know why they're doing it? Look at what's
Where's
happening
the
in
evidence
California.
to that?
It's
The
4
Republicans
days.
are doing well in
California. California, it's no, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days, and they aren't even close to coming up with.
That's how they count
You know
the
why
votes
they're doing
in
that? Because
California.
they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
all
that?
I have to do is look. All I have to do is look.
That's not
and
evidence.
I listen to people, and let's see what happens.
But sir, that's not evidence.
Do you think
and
it's appropriate?
That's how they
that
count the votes in
Do you
California.
think it's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later they're nowhere close to picking a
State
winner?
and local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging.
No, they're crooked.
They're urging the
crooked.
votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote
They're
in
crooked,
California.
just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but let's
Really?
Let's
Well, you
continue.
play right into their hands.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid. You play
continue.
right into their hands with this rap. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But Mr. President,
you know why I
you've
got
never
that?
presented
Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd.
You
Blanche.
have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about
elections
you
in
went
this
to
country.
court.
We're like a third world country.
But, sir,
your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked,
Mr.
and so
President-
is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But, Mr. President-
You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've sat in the
traveled
rain with
all
you.
the- I know. I
I've sat in
traveled
the rain
all the
with
way
you
to
for an
Wisconsin.
hour, on and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be
We
great
traveled
with a dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on,
traveled
let's go.
all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
Fucking hell. Holy
I
shit.
spoke with President Trump.
Nah, that's enough. We don't want to hear you anymore. You're crooked. You're crooked. Wow. Eh? Very interesting. Is this the interview that he says he never said no new wars? Oh, man. Could you imagine? Eh? And she's crooked. Listen to the people. Same excuse he once gave for the January 6th election fraud stuff. Damn. Yes, same interview. Wow. Ro doesn't understand how counting and percentages works. Who is this? The you in this? Who is the you in this? American citizens? She's like, I fucking came to Wisconsin. I'm in a barn wearing heels and it's raining. Oh my God, you asshole. Wow. That's very interesting. Wow, whoa, whoa. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa. Didn't like that. Basically watched an adult dealing with a child having a tantrum. You're either crooked or you're stupid. So good. This man is the king of projection. You're crooked or you're stupid. Fastest way to clear the room is asking him for proof. Look at all these woke comments here. Hey? November is around the corner. Yeah, why not both? Stupid and crooked. Oh man, look at this bin. It says Wisconsin, Mr. President. Oh my God, seriously. Look at the bin, I'm telling you. We're in Wisconsin. I'm telling you. The problem is clearly not the rain. Bravo. The high price of gas doesn't affect me anymore. I can't get my vehicles repaired to drive because of the cost of repairs. Savage. Hey? Cost of living crisis. It's a crisis. Let's call it quits because I've had enough. Now he wishes the war in Iran was so easy. Ha. Savage. If this were your 80-year-old father, you would take away his car keys. Oh man, so good. Savage, bro. This smell of cow piss hides the smell of presidential piss. Oh man, savage. Give the man a break. He's trying. It's not easy. Yes, and give him one of them kid phones that don't have access to nothing but dialing numbers. He's no 80. He acts at least 5. Fucking, that was a good comment. I'll give that to you, Orca person, whoever you are, a friend. Hilarious. I would take away his car keys. Oh my god. Oh man. All right, thanks for that. Whoever suggested that one, I think that was you, Dilemmas. Thanks for the suggestion. As if Trump drives himself. Probably hasn't for a long time. Probably hasn't ever. Let's be honest, right? Do you reckon he's ever driven? Unless it was for some type of like special event or something. Like a hobby thing. Driving like classic cars or something. It's weird how Trump doesn't miss a beat when he's chewing someone out. Yeah, it is. He's pretty actually, yeah, when he gets aggro and wants to take someone down. He's sharp as. He is the old Facebook boomer that believes every post on his feed. Oh my god. The president has fallen and he cannot get up. Oh, savage. All right. Leave him alone. Eh? What about respecting our elders? Eh? What happened to that? What happened to that, I ask you? All right, I just want to quickly figure out this one because I think this is interesting. This is only 4 hours old. I'm not sure if this is true or not. We'll never know about it anyway, even if it is true. But like, let's have a listen. Iran fires multiple missiles at Israel. A new threat to ceasefire. Like, I know we've said this multiple times, but like, how did these journalists sleep at night? Like, who thought of that heading and was just like, yeah, it's fucking, that's right. That's why people love us as journalists, because we just tell it how it is. Objective as fuck. Iran fires multiple missiles at Israel in new threat to ceasefire. It's not a threat to a ceasefire if people are fucking firing missiles at each other. Like, are these people fucking stupid? Like, you're either crooked, or you're stupid. It can't be both. They're obviously fucking stupid, these people. Like, seriously. Iran fires multiple missiles at Israel in a threat to ceasefire. There is no ceasefire, you idiots. Why? Why are they pushing this so hard? Like, everybody lives in this weird gaslit existence across the world where we're just like, no, I'm sure they're in a ceasefire, right? But they keep firing at each other. No, it's definitely a ceasefire. It's definitely a ceasefire. Like, we are so confused in the world today. So confused. Oh, no way. He's got a driver's license. I stand corrected. So good. Height 6'2". Look at that. Close D. Donald J. Trump. New York State. Look at that signature. So good. Sex. Male. What's that? Blue eyes? Hey? Wow. That's crazy. I stand corrected. He needed that to get into nightclubs with Epstein back in the day. I've fallen and I can't get up. And that's what happens when you have stairs. Crook pid. They are intentionally breaking our psyche. Yeah, and they can say, this is 1984 stuff, because then they can say things, like anything. They can say anything and we'll just believe it, like it's true. Like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be a shame if the ceasefire stopped because someone was firing missiles at people? And you're just like, hello? Firing missiles does not constitute a ceasefire. So they can say anything. And we're like, oh God, I really hope that ceasefire holds up. Oh my God. What if they actually started firing missiles at each other instead of just firing missiles at each other? That would be scary. Ironically, Israel is the threat to the ceasefire. ... Always. Okay. don't believe your lying eyes. Also, the crazy thing, when people go back to look at what happened, these articles with the headlines will pop up. Yes. The articles, yes, with these headlines will pop up. Yes. Yeah. And like, how dumb are we?
The Middle East ceasefire is in danger tonight as Iran fires multiple waves of missiles at northern Israel, the first since the fragile truce was brokered in April. Israel says it has intercepted the missiles. Much of the country has been put on alert this evening. It all comes after Israel carried out deadly strikes on the southern suburbs of the Lebanese capital, Beirut, targeting, it said, Hezbollah, the Iran-backed.
Obey. Yeah. Well, like, if they can so blatantly just tell us what to think, like this, when we're all aware. Like, did you hear the thing that Trump said recently about ceasefire? He's like, ceasefire in this region of the world means moderately firing at each other. And so, like, if we're all just willing to buy it, then yes, we will also obey, right? How's BB's bum going? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. He had cancer, didn't he? That's right.
To armed group. President Trump has tonight urged the Iranians to get back to the negotiating table. John Sudworth is in Beirut for us tonight, and Wira Davis is in Jerusalem.
Yeah, in that interview, he simultaneously said it wasn't a war and also it was a war. Yes. Very interesting.
Wira, bring us right up to date with what's been happening and what Israel's been saying.
Yeah, Jane, well, the last 24 hours have been very tense in the region, and this attack by the Iranians had been anticipated. And tonight, people in northern and central Israel were sent scurrying to the shelters after warnings of a launch of missiles from Iran. None of those hit their targets, but we understand we've got first-hand accounts of missiles being intercepted over the northern Israeli city of Haifa. There's been a stern response, particularly from the hard line of Israeli politics. The outspoken security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir tonight said that Tehran must burn. The big question is, what are Tehran's intentions? There were apparent scenes of jubilation in Tehran as some of those rockets were fired, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard said that this was just the start of a week-long campaign of missile attacks against Israel. They further said that they would be firing rockets around the clock. The big question now, I suppose, is will Iran follow through with those threats, or can they be encouraged to step back from the brink? Donald Trump, we know, has made comments about this, and we understand that in the last few minutes, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have been speaking on the phone. Of course, the American president was known to be quite angry with Israel's intentions in Lebanon and elsewhere in the region, and perhaps he may be able to persuade the Israeli Prime Minister that enough is enough, and it's time for both sides to get back around the table.
Wira, thank you. And
fucking mental. They're actually firing at each other. And more than that, they're threatening to continue firing for a week. And there's still the mainstream media. They're manufacturing consent on this line that the ceasefire is actually a thing. What is it that protects the global, like the West? Like, what is it that the West needs to manufacture here about a ceasefire? How does it benefit them? Manufacturing this line that there's a ceasefire out there. Like, this just, like, kind of enforces the worldview by, like, Brian of the New Atlas, that, like, this is not, like, they have no care in the world about, like, opening up the Strait of Hormuz at all. Don't care about it. If anything, this is highly beneficial to the American empire. They are weaning the world off Arab energy, and, like, people are finding alternative deals. And they can't openly maintain a war. So they're just in a kind of a stalemate situation in the area, while, like, they actually just keep on fighting each other. Maybe not at the same level of intensity as when this started. But, like, they just tell everyone it's a ceasefire, and they just keep doing they keep locking in the conflict over there. And we're all just supposed to believe that there's a ceasefire going on while they're shooting at each other. Like, it really is Brian's outlook on everything. It's just the American empire wants this to happen, and we're all just going to be, because everyone's concerned, everyone just is manufactured consent and told that there's a ceasefire, and everyone's just hoping for the best because nobody really likes the idea of war. And so we're all just, like, again, we're just gaslit on this one and just told there's a ceasefire so they can continue. blocking the entire region. Yo, what's up? What's up? I'll be dipping in and out today. 4IS in the house. Good luck with the stream. Thank you very much. Follow on Twitch if you're new. Activate the like button. Oh yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button for more. Very disappointed if you haven't done that, YouTube people. Thanks for the prompt there, 4IS. Thank you very much.
Let's head to the Lebanese capital. John Sudworth is there. Bring us up to date from where you are, John.
Well, Jane, it's become increasingly clear in recent weeks that the conflict here in Lebanon, just like the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz, is a complicating obstacle to America's efforts to strike a peace deal with Iran. And although that may seem to have taken the White House by surprise, plenty of critics here in the region will say that the risks were there all along. Hezbollah joined the war in support of Iran back in early March, firing rockets over Israel's
border. You have to get that through by spelling stuff like that. That's crazy. I'm assuming that is Hez, like as in the organization, and invasion is the last word, I'm assuming. The Lebanese army are not an ally to the people. Only Hez is preventing invasion. Yeah, it's funny when you hear people like, I guess from the manufacturing consent machine, are just like, oh yeah, but like, you know, Hezbollah, and like, and Hamas, you know, they are T organizations. They've got the terrorist label. Like, can you really support them? And you're just like, but like, what do you define as terrorism? And then why wouldn't you just define what Israel is doing to these people as terrorism as well? So if it's terrorists fighting terrorists, like, come on. How do you say these terrorists good? These terrorists bad? Like, how do you make that distinction? They're basically the same fucking thing. They're organizations of terror. Yes, it will get censored otherwise. Wow. Interesting. I have to learn this internet talk. Invism. Interesting. Hey, fuck you, censor. How do you like that? And that's from our mod. But yeah, like the whole, oh, you know, they're able to justify their attacks in Lebanon because they're going after Hez. And it's because Hez is a T organization. And it's like, yeah, but like, hello. Like, why are you siding with one T organization over another? Like, look at what's going on there. Bibi's own political ideology is based on a designated terror org. Yeah. Designated by Izzy. Interesting.
Israel has been desperate to hit Hezbollah targets here in Beirut, and America has found itself in the peculiar position of trying to restrain Israel, of reining in its military activity for precisely this reason, because Iran has made it clear for a long time now that strikes on Beirut would pull down those efforts to secure peace and risk an escalation. What do we have today? We had a strike on Beirut, and once again, Iranian missiles in the skies over this region. Two quick things to note, I think. Reporting out of Washington suggests that Donald Trump is saying he did not give Israel authorization for the strike on Beirut, calling into question, of course, just how much influence he still exerts on Israeli military policy. And secondly, he is calling, as you said, for Iran to stop firing and to return to the negotiating table. Not much of a threat of a sanction, also suggesting that the limits of American power are in evidence there too. There are no easy answers to resolving the conflict here, and America itself appears to be struggling to find them.
John Sudworth and Wira Davis, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, so that's the latest. They're firing missiles and plan to fire intensively for a week. And there's threats to the ceasefire. Like, this is why we get such fatigue on this issue. Remember when the Iran thing first started? And we're like, how long have we been covering this for? I'm going to be covering this for the next decade. How quickly are we going to get tired of this issue? I'm exhausted. Covering this issue. I guess that's what they want on this. And then, like, nobody asks questions. Like, that's it. There's your line. There's your headline. And your headline is the propaganda or the manufacturing consent that they want on this one. We are supposed to give consent to this idea that there is a ceasefire because it's being threatened. That's all in the language. Even though there are missiles flying, it's just illogical stuff. And here we are, the plebs, trying to make sense of it all. See, I was thinking, why does the media want us to know so badly about Trump yelling at Bibi? What were they trying to separate themselves from? Yes, Yes, it was interesting how that made it through the filter and became like a big news story, right? Hilarious though it is, and that's why like we watched it in the way that we did, because it was fucking hilarious. But like, why are we supposed to think that? Why are we supposed to think that? Exactly. Like there's a rift between the two lovers. Why are we supposed to think that? I think that gives them separation so America can continue doing its foreign policy and using is not rail as their usual puppet, which is like good cop, bad cop kind of thing. If Trump yells at BB, then like America can like just do what it needs to do in the region and continue to supply is not rail like on the sly, like, or not on the sly, but like silently support is not rail. And then like is not rail just looks like a crazy rogue state. And everyone's like, oh, they're out of control. You know, not even Trump can stop BB from doing what he wants to do. Look, he sweared at him and everything. Profanities were used. Profanities. And Israel is still doing whatever the fuck they want. And so, like, it's Israel is the battering ram in the Middle East of West Asia. And so, like, they continue to be used in that way for America's imperial interests, which align with Israel's interests. But like the rift just makes it look like America has got some separation on the whole issue. Because I think it's just generally unpopular, like across the world, but like also in the US. Nobody wants to be part of this war and this entire situation. And Iran isn't really backing down on it either. Like they haven't backed down on the whole Lebanon matter. Any ceasefire or any negotiations with Iran must include terms that cover Lebanon. And so like Israel can do its thing and America gets to just quietly support them. And it just looks like Israel is the rogue state. When there's two rogue states, just they're playing good cop, bad cop. Yeah, Izzy is the empire's attack dog. Yeah. In the region. And fuck, does that attack dog rough things up in the region as well. My God. And they get given stuff to do it. Massive support to do it. It's a great tool. It's a great weapon of empirical control, isn't it? Empirical control. No, empirical control. All right. That's enough of that. I actually wanted to get onto this. Where is it? Here. It's DM25. Hasan and Yanis talking about the recent situation. I want to hear what they both have to say, but like particularly, I'd like to know what Yanis thinks about this. So like if you haven't been across this situation, Spandog shared this. I'm pretty sure it was Spandog. Let me just have a check. Video topic suggestions. Yeah, Spandog. Worlds collide. Yeah, Yanis and Hasan coming together. Like, so Yanis has this podcast
on the stream
that he does with another guy, something Wolfgang. I can't remember what his name is, a German dude. They do this thing called the Iconoclasts. Iconoclasts. It's an interesting podcast where they just talk about things from an like world affairs, geopolitics from like an economist standpoint. And I'm pretty sure they do live sessions of their podcast. And like Hasan, I think was going to come over and speak to them on Iconoclasts. And they were going to do like a live version of it. And Hasan was supposed to talk at that. And Hasan was supposed to come to the UK for that event. And Hasan got like banned from the UK. And I'm pretty sure it's about like the topic we were just speaking about, which is like, is not rail. And so like Yanis has already been banned from Germany for that. And it looks like Hasan is being banned from the UK for similar concerns, which is like speaking bad about the is not rail regime. Oh boy, another interview with Hasan on his phone. That one was for you, Jag. I don't know. Like maybe he will concentrate this time. We'll find out. But like, you know, there's some fucking heavyweights in this one. Like DM25. So DM25 is DM25 is the channel that this is on. DM25 is a political organization that was formulated by Yanis and others. And like, 10 years ago, I think, I want to say, and they were trying to bring, democracy to the European Union, like, whatever that looks like, honestly. It's a big slog, that one. Jack came out of the woodwork for that one, just for you, Hobo Joe. Had a few others, but I'll be nice. Yeah, take a shot every time he looks at his phone. Son sucks in debates and interviews. I actually haven't seen him debate. Do you remember he was going to debate the Kirk stuff just like in October, and Kirk died in like September or something? I'm pretty sure they were going to have a debate. I'm pretty sure. And like that would have been interesting to see. He's getting a bit better at speaking, but not much better. But yeah, DM25 is their political organization, and like I think they kind of failed at their original vision for Europe, which is to try and bring back like democratic power to the people of Europe. Through their political organization, and they started it's a party, it's a political party, and like there's DM25 registered political parties all over Europe, but it's like, it's an uphill battle, it's difficult and stuff like that. So like it's interesting that this is the platform that they're using to have this little conversation. I guess this is the speech that like the talk that they were going to have potentially before they were not allowed to have this speaking tour, I guess. Yeah, he was meant to debate him like 2 weeks from his death. Yeah, I think banning Cenk and Hasan was to protect multiculturalism, not just talking about Izzy. What do you mean protect multiculturalism? As in like they speak against multiculturalism? Or they protect Actually, I'm not sure. Can you actually explain that one, Dilemmas? I'm not sure if I understand that one properly, but interesting nonetheless. I wonder how you protect multiculturalism that way. Anyway, it's a longie, so I might do 1.25. Mystery said Cenk. Yeah, it's a longie, so I might speed it up, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how long it takes us to get through this. I know I promised that I won't talk a lot of the time so we can actually watch things, but like I'll do my best so we can get through this.
Okay. Let me kick it off. Hello, and welcome. I'm Mehran Khalidi for DM25, and with me tonight, two people whose words are apparently so influential.
Sorry, what? That's how you pronounce Cenk's name? Cenk. I love the commentary. Just enjoy giving you shit too. Of course. But like, I get it. We're stopped already.
So subversive that governments are banning them from entire countries to shut them up. Hasan Piker, banned from the UK earlier this week, and Yanis Varoufakis, banned from Germany 2 years ago. What links these two cases? You guessed it, criticism of Israel for its genocide in Gaza. Both Yanis and Hasan were due to speak at prominent events on exactly that. So tonight we dig into this new authoritarian playbook in Europe to protect Israel.
So like that's the claim. Yeah, I've stopped already. But like that's the claim, Dilemmas. Have you heard something else about multiculturalism? Yes, Cenk is said like Cenk, Hasan's uncle. Yes, got it. Thank you. Yeah, like because apparently they were going to speak about this particular issue, like Palestine is not real issue. So I'm interested to know what the multiculturalism thing is. Dilemmas. They speak against one group of people, which could inflame the population. Not good for social cohesion. They've banned pro-Izzy speakers as well. Oh, so it's not about multiculturalism. It's about social cohesion as such. Got it. Okay. Yeah, great. The social cohesion line. That's the new rhetoric of the police state, is it? It's not good for social cohesion. That's the social cohesion line is behind all of our new legislation as well. What they deem to be social cohesion. Bear in mind, Hasan only did a speech at Oxford Union about Palestine like 8 months prior. Yeah. Well, now it's more important than ever.
How and why governments are doing this, and what all of us who care about Gaza and human rights everywhere can do about it. Yanis, I'll hand it to you.
Well, Hasan, welcome. And I suspect we are being welcomed to your stream as well. So,
Yes.
it's a double welcome. Hasan and I, just in case people didn't know about it, and I'm sure that most of you didn't know it, tonight, Hasan and I were meant to be live together at the town hall at King's Cross in the heart of the city of London, as part of a podcast that I participate in called The Iconoclast. That doesn't really matter at all. The fact of the matter was we were meant to be together. And, Hasan, my intentions for tonight were to discuss with you the way, I mean, not just the way, but your experiences in trying to energize the left-wing youth in your country, the United States, and, to try to extract some lessons from you for the United Kingdom, for Europe, for the non-American world. But of course, the UK government, just like the Berlin authorities 2 years ago, had other ideas. We were found to be insufficiently in support of the genocide. We didn't show enough character in supporting the Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. And, they stopped us from having a discussion about politics in our countries. So, Hasan, off you go.
Whoa. So, they're being sarcastic, obviously, but like they're saying they're insufficient support of Israel, not the genocide. Genocide. Insufficient support of Israel is the reason they didn't get to talk. I think he did both South by Southwest and Oxford Union about Palestine specifically, I think. Well, not good enough this time, it would seem. It's almost like it's a political choice as opposed to being based on any type of, actual policy decision. They let him in last time. Why is he not good enough this time? Is that like I know they're being sarcastic, but I've gotten that. I'm assuming we're all on the same page with this one, right? That they're being banned for insufficient support of the genocide just means criticizing Israel. That's why they were banned, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I think I have a lot more confidence had a lot more confidence in liberal democracy and European countries safeguarding liberal democracy in spite of everything that I had seen over the past 3 years. But I no longer have that confidence at all. It's shocking when you think about the history of the United Kingdom and what kind of subversive and, dare I say, radical thinkers the British government has in the past offered a shelter to in comparison to people that simply oppose Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. I mean, it's a sign of the times that liberalism is in crisis. It's failing. It's deteriorating. And the people who are tasked with safeguarding it, self-described liberals themselves, are also participating in the demise.
Shocking. Just like his dog. Savage. Speaking of Hasan's, Mehdi Hasan had a debate against PBD. It was a bloodbath. Really embarrassing for PBD. Interesting. I had to get at least one joke in. At least one. Hey, we just started, bro. Plenty of time. You should watch it. It's brutal. Okay, fair enough. I'm happy to have that suggested as well. If you got a link. I don't know who these two people are that you're speaking about either. Mehdi Hasan or PBD. So, if it's interesting.
I think that there are a lot broader consequences that we should probably take a look at and see this as a serious warning sign and hopefully organize against it because we're running out of time. I think all of these actions taken by the Labour government, taken by the inaction by the Democratic Party in opposition to the MAGA movement in America are allowing, I would say, an appeasement phase that's allowing fascist movements to grow in the Western world. And that's terrifying.
Well, Hasan, I think that you owe a debt of gratitude to the British government because it saved you from this delusion regarding Europe's liberalism. It's a delusion that is a very, touching, that a lot of us used to have. I lost it at least 10, 12 years ago. You're losing it now. It's a delusion, especially amongst the progressives in the United States who think of Europe as, the kind of United States you would love to have. Even, our friend Bernie Sanders often refers to Sweden as an example of a social democracy, but that's 15 years too late. Sweden is no longer Germany. I grew up in a fascist dictatorship in Greece in the 1960s and 1970s. And my parents used to think of Germany as our liberal support group. And we used to take holidays there. My father used to say, my father was a communist, by the way, but he used to say that, when he's in Germany, under Willy Brandt, the Social Democrats, he was breathing fresh democratic air. And, but when did I lose my virginity? You lost it now. I lost it 12 years ago, and I'll tell you exactly where I lost it. In the Council of European Finance Ministers, in my first meeting, when I went in there.
Belated hello. I've been lurking for a bit. All right. Wookiee's in the house. How you going? Hope you are well. I was sufficiently, what was that? Valutained. Interesting.
As a social.
Did you have a gaze at the Brett Cooper vid complaining about private equity? No, I haven't. Actually, not yet. I have not. But I remember you talking about that. Is this the one that you were like, there's a right winger out there who's like complaining about private equity? I swear, there's a lot of right-wing commentators that do a lot more class-based politics or class warfare discussion points than their so-called progressive counterparts. Very interesting.
But nevertheless, fully 12 years ago, and I'll tell you exactly where I lost it, in the Council of European Finance Ministers, in my first meeting, when I went in there as a socialist, but nevertheless, fully prepared to compromise and to be very, reasonable.
Yeah, that's the one. Have you put it in Discord by any chance? I wouldn't mind having a look. If you have already, I'm sorry.
With all these neoliberals.
Oh, we lost Yanis.
What we do is...
Yanis, we lost you for a second.
Okay. I'll start
you said you went to compromise as a pragmatic person with...
That's right. So I said, we have a different agenda to yours, but this is what Democrats do. They find compromises. And the German finance minister, the late Wolfgang Schäuble, turned around.
Oh, this guy. That's Mehdi Hasan. I know that guy. He comes up in my feed all the fucking time. And he destroys some PBD. Oh, I know this guy as well. What's up, Mehdi over here destroyed this right-wing grifter, dude. Like, Charlie Kirk used to go on PBD all the time, right? Oh, that might be interesting to watch. So what, this guy couldn't debate? This PBD guy? That's interesting. Like, for someone who spends all their time just talking about shit, they can't debate? Interesting. Yeah, Charlie has famous clips from PBD. Yeah, smoked him? Really? That's funny. It was like watching what's her name? Freya from Sky News. It's like watching her in that SBS debate. Like, she spends all of her time working on her propaganda for Sky News and she couldn't like debate properly. I was like, but why? You should have heaps of information. He's a Trump shill. Yeah, but like, can't they debate though? Just because they're a shill? Like, they should have so many resources and so much information to draw upon. I call him Peanut Butter David. All right, let's have a look. Voltaire. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, is this the one? We're Losing America. This one? Brett Cooper. Okay, I'm going to add that like to a little list, I guess. Private equity. What an interesting manifestation of capitalism, hey? Brett Cooper, private equity. Thanks. It might be interesting to watch that. All right. PBD and J. Yeah, she's massive. Massive? Hey. Intellect isn't Freya's strong point. Yeah, but like, come on, like, all she does is like spit propaganda, like, for a particular point of view. Like, she should have that point of view down fucking pat. Don't you reckon? Intellect isn't her strong point. She just gets given the script, okay? She just says the lines. BBD famously chewed out his mate Adam for flopping on a debate with Dave Smith about Izzy, just for him to flop on a debate a few months later. Interesting. Brett Cooper, like female Shapiro? Question mark. Oh, it's the young slang for massive. Okay, right. Interesting. Got it. That's weird. It shows a different thumbnail on my end for the PBD debate. Ooh. Isn't that interesting, eh? Ooh. The algorithm is selectively pricing for you and me, Jag. Surveillance capitalism. Yeah, Ravi, female Shapiro. All right, let's do this.
And in no uncompromising terms said to me, elections should not be allowed to change economic policy. I mean, and I said, well, that is a godsend for the Chinese Communist Party.
I was about to say, it's very Soviet attitude.
So, welcome to the club, Hasan. Europe is not the paradise the Democrats in the United States would like to imagine it to be.
Hassan, I'd love to ask you, it's been a couple of days since the ban came through. What's the response to the ban been like? Has anything actually surprised you about that response?
I've been surprised on both ends of the political spectrum. On the one hand, I have had a tremendous amount of slanderous articles written about me from a lot of pro-Israel institutions like the Free Press or even the Washington Post editorial board that's constantly writing about how I'm a dangerous threat to the American public. And because this was such a low bar to clear, and I guess it was a great way to dunk on the Labor government as well, which nobody seems to like, including their own voters, a lot of people actually wrote The Economist, the Washington Post editorial board, Free Press, and all these other oppositional media outlets actually wrote a defense of me and Cenk and a defense of free speech and free expression in general. So that was a little bit, that was a little bit exciting. And then what also...
Cenk, like J, doesn't sound like a CH to me. It's more like a G, a J. Let me just hear that again.
A defense of me and Cenk and a defense of free speech and free expression in general. So that was a little bit, that was a little bit exciting. And then what also shocked me on the other side was that there were a lot of right-wingers who had made careers off of defending free speech, which from their perspective, it simply meant apparently to the right to be able to say slurs and the right to be able to incite hate and then receive no opposition or no pushback whatsoever. Because a lot of them, instead of defending the principle of free speech and saying, look, you have a right to say things that I disagree with, that's the whole point of free speach, turned around and celebrated the decision of the Labor government, saying, yeah, this is well-deserved. You deserve this. You deserve this ban. And I found that to be a little bit surprising.
Well, you mean J.D. Vance and Elon Musk did not rush to your support?
No, I'm still waiting on that. I'm still waiting on J.D. Vance because he had conversations with David Lammy and numerous other figures over and over again, warning about the dangers of the UK losing its interest in defending free speech, and he's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. Can I ask you a broader question? Because, we need to talk about Gaza and we need to talk about Palestine because, they can't stop thinking about it. It's clear that, we were going to go to London and talk about all sorts of other things, but they're forcing us essentially to revisit the question of Gaza. Now, it is my distinct impression, and I want you to tell me whether it is also yours or whether you want to challenge that impression of mine, that, the fascists of the world are doing a splendid job in washing themselves and their dirty hands clean of anti-Semitism by espousing the most horrible, heinous version of Zionism. Is that your view too?
Oh, absolutely. I think there is this very interesting whitewashing and laundering of the prior anti-Semitic history of a lot of Christian nations, a lot of Western nations, and this abdication of historic responsibility. Where you hear even the likes of Mark Carney and certainly European leaders claim that anti-Semitism is actually coming to Europe by way of migration, Arab migration, Muslim migration. I find that very strange. I find that really funny and maybe a little scary when I hear that from a German leader, especially because the Holocaust happened not that long ago, right? There are still some relatives that were around when that was taking place. I read it as Holocaust revisionism to a certain degree, but it's certainly a concept that benefits Israel's ultimate goals, and therefore Israel is perfectly willing to abide by that. And as a matter of fact, Benjamin Netanyahu himself is personally engaged in Holocaust revisionism when he once famously said that Hitler didn't want to actually kill the Jews until he had a conversation with the Grand Mufti of Palestine, a British occupation holdover that had no real sway over the Palestinian public whatsoever. The Grand Mufti had convinced Adolf Hitler of actually killing all of the Jews because he was worried, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, that if Hitler doesn't kill all the Jews, then they'll go to Israel. This is Holocaust revisionism, and it was panned and criticized widely by Jewish society and certainly Israeli society at the time. And yet it's most commonly deployed nowadays whenever there are comparisons to be made between Hamas and the Nazis, where you see a lot of Zionists openly state that Hamas is actually far worse than the Nazis ever were, which I find to be insane. It's an insane statement to make. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because
I think it is an interesting question, though. Like the idea that, like, in order for, like, we saw this phenomenon when we watched that I can't remember what the name is, like Unite the Kingdom rally, I think it was. And like you kind of see it at rallies here in Australia as well, like right-wing leaning rallies, like your Make Australia Great Again rallies, whatever the fuck they March for Australia, all that sort of stuff. And you have like people carrying Is Not Israeli flags, and like the right-wing parties of Europe and the UK, like they're rallying for, I don't know, like British, like upholding British cultural values and like the threat of mass migration, great replacement, all that sort of stuff. And there's people actively inside of these rallies holding Israeli flags. Like the movements are connected somehow. Like they are synonymous almost. Like Israeli state supremacy is also akin now with kind of a right-wing version of nationalism in European countries or in Western countries generally. And it's like, where did this come from? Like, why is this happening? Like, what propaganda, what manufacturing consent lines have these people been fucking swallowing to make out like these things are even slightly connected? Same here, bro. I see it in most Western places. It's the same bubbles. My right-wing mate is probably Israel. But like, I can see that they're there because like the evidence is there. We saw it in the Unite the Kingdom rally. I've seen it in rallies in Australia. Like, but like where did this connection come from? Like traditionally, the people that have founded these right-wing kind of movements, like look at the March for Australia one in Sydney. Like that was made by that Beck Freedom woman is literally in bed, like figuratively and literally in bed with like Nazis, and like they fucking hate the Jewish diaspora, like across the world and in Australia specifically. But like these people are more than happy to rock up with like Is Not Israeli flags at their events and marches. Like how have those things been interwoven with one another? Colonizers supporting colonizers. It's not that complicated in my opinion. It's all anti-Arab. Okay, and I can see what they're talking about. Like he's just like as part of like the anti-mass migration and specifically anti-Muslim bent on the mass migration effect. Like you have Muslim peoples coming into your country, and it's just like Muslims anti-Jewish because like they're natural enemies. Apparently, those two they can't exist in the same spaces. Apparently, and so like in order to be anti-Muslim and mass migration, you can be pro Is Not Israel or pro-Zionism. And I can see how like you can make that connection. But again, traditionally, this part of the political spectrum has been against the Jewish diaspora. And like, how did they resolve that issue? Like, what mental gymnastics have happened in those spheres for people to be like, you know what? I'm going to side with Zionism here. I'm just going to go. The content they consume, like how powerful and important is propaganda? Like they've just been fed enough content with enough Is Not Israeli flags on it for them to be like, yeah. When we do our nationalist rallies, let's fly a foreign flag and support that shit. Like the visceral, like the hatred, the seething hatred that I've had, I've felt from people when interviewing them in the street and being like, oh, well, why are you protesting today? And they're just like, because there's pro-Palestinian rallies out there. I hate the fucking pro-Palestinian people. I fucking hate them. Like they hate them so much because they think like you can't love Australia or love your nation and support a foreign entity, and then they support like Zionism or they support the state of Israel for some reason. Like it just like it's incredible how they can do those mental gymnastics. It's absolutely incredible. Creators will tell their audiences that the world is in a spiritual world and Israel is fighting for Christianity while surrounded by he's in a spiritual war. Yes. The uniting factor is anti-Brown. I guess it just shows you the development of modern right-wing politics, and like the importance of like a tool like the war on terror and associating all terrorism with like, you know, the Islamic world or something like that. And so you can reconcile old differences. Right-wing politics has always been, let's just say, cautious of the world Jewish diaspora, and now they're fully embracing it over, you know, let's just say all-encompassingly, the war on terror, if you know what I mean. It's amazing how they have made that mental leap happen. I think it's absolutely fascinating in a case study of propaganda or manufacturing consent. I find it mind-boggling, to be honest. This is why I'll watch RY, right-wing content, to see where the ideas come from. End of the day, it's good old-fashioned pro-white bigotry. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. And I guess it's a question that we're going to have to ask more. Like, next time we go to one of these rallies, I guess we have to ask people, why is it that like they hate, like they can so viscerally hate like anyone who's pro-Palestine, and then and they'd be happy for other people to bring other flags to their nationalistic rallies. How do they make those two things work? I'd love to hear an explanation of that one, to be honest. Like I've said before, like honestly, if you were about like nationalism and your national liberation, like you'd be pro-Palestine. Because like Palestine, that whole issue is about the erasure of someone's culture. And that's what all like the Western nationalist movements are about at the moment. They're about the erasure of Western culture or like national values and stuff like that. So like being pro-Israeli regime is antithetical to their cause. Like they're inviting, they're having, like they're bargaining with the devil here, because like they're not helping the cause for national independence and the upholding of Western values. They're supporting the erasure of a culture. And once they do it abroad, they do it at home. And so like it's betting on the wrong horse big time if you really care about national sovereignty and all that sort of stuff. You're betting on the wrong horse, like massively. Why do you think Israel puts so much emphasis on shaping the tech and the media landscape in the form of shorts? Bots, etc., and right-wingers are easily persuaded by them. Ask where they get their information from, then sit down and critique it. Yeah. I guess that's like a job for a Far-Right Fridays, I guess. It's just Fash propaganda in short form, modern content instead of flyers. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, flyers and like pieces in the mainstream media. Little pieces in the mainstream media. Crazy. It's a crazy world if you think about it. Like that's what they're talking about. Like how did you go from like European nationalists who were fucking anti-Semitic to being like the most staunch supporters of like a particular form of Jewish thought and ideology? So staunch in their defense of it. It's crazy. Israel and Palestine just need some good old Aussie multiculturalism. Not enough migration. Yes. Open the floodgates. And it's globalized from the manufacturing consent to be anti-Muslim, anti-Arab. To be honest, I first assumed Far-Right Fridays would be digging down to where these far-right ideas come from and how people are led to extreme right-wing views. From start to finish. Yeah, like I'm just not across enough of this. Like I'm happy to take again, when Far Right Fridays actually started, it was people curating the list and we would just watch it. We had a list curated by, I can't even remember what this guy's name was. There was this very entertaining person that used to come in and like they curated a list one day. It's where LARP Jeff gets internet friends from. So we've had some people come in and curate lists for Far Right Fridays. Ron, holy shit! Oh man, you're like the stream historian. It's so good, bro. Like I can't remember this shit. I'm like Freya over here. I talk all this shit and I can't remember anything. But like yeah, Ron. And I got upset with Ron one day and I told him to fuck off. until he's ready to like care about the class war instead of just like pissing people off in the stream. And he actually fucked off. Wow, Ron, what a throwback. Wasn't Ron the guy who gave us the list where we had the woman who was like, hello, internet friends? Yeah, Jerry Poppins, he curated the first one and like other people did. So like, I watched so many of his videos. Yeah. Fucking hell. But like, yeah, like if you have like a deep dive into a topic and like actual source, like, cause I look at ideology primarily. Like last week I was trying to look at the ideology that birthed neoliberalism and like libertarian ideas and like go right back to the 70s from its inception and how people slide into libertarian stuff. Yeah, I think Ron had the weird religious videos too. Yeah, we watched stuff about like the Vatican and like how the devil lived in some chamber under the Vatican or some crazy shit like that. But like there was some pipeline shit. Like people get into some hardcore political ideals from that stuff. Anyway, I'm more than happy to have curated lists. Like we watched some crazy shit thanks to that, as opposed to my investigations. But yeah, I'm still perplexed as to how right-wing thought has been so willing to accept another country's nationalism as their own and integrate it into their movements. It seems antithetical. Spandonk. Bro, we're watching your thing. You suggested this. You're like, two worlds collide. I'm late, but I didn't miss it. Yeah, we're like 10 minutes in. And I did say that I wasn't going to talk much. Half an hour later. The devil lives in a chamber under the Vatican sounds like a Lana Del Rey album. Yes, it does, actually. Anyway, fun times, Far Out Fridays. Fun times.
I had a conversation with LBC earlier before I'm having this conversation with you guys, and the host was a wonderful guy, Louis Goodall. We started off having a normal back and forth, and one of the things that they brought up, one of the things that the host brought up was the fact that I make this comparison between Israel and Nazi Germany. And he said that this was very offensive. It was deeply offensive. And I was like, look, I'm not very precious about utilizing the term Nazi when referencing Israel because they're doing a genocide. It's a fascist ideology. That's precisely what the Nazis did. And by the end of that conversation, which turned into a debate almost instantly, I think he was almost in favor of the ban himself, even though he started off with not being in favor of it. But the reason why I bring that up is because Israel gets to make these Nazi comparisons, but if anyone opposes Israel that makes similar comparisons, especially because it's actually more historically appropriate to make the comparisons between two, much more powerful militarized countries that are engaging in the act of genocide and the paramilitary forces that are fighting back against it, a fight for their existence, a fight for survival, people get very offended.
Hasan, just to
it's how people tie Israel's identity to their own. Like Israel represents the Western values and it's a way of life. Like, does it though? Like, honestly, does it represent Western values? Like, it's Semitic. Like, it represents the values quite well of West Asia, actually. That's why I'm saying, like, part of the mental gymnastics is the conversation has been one where it's co-opted people into thinking that Israel it represents Western values. And, like, it's as simple as what Ravi has said before. It's just like, well, they represent kind of white versus brown. And, like, I get that. But, like, it's such a stretch. It's not Western values. It's, like, almost like being convinced that Greece is the cradle of Western civilization. It's not really. It's much more closely connected to the Levant, like West Asia, than like Europe, like Western Europe. Like, let's be fucking honest here. But like, I'm more happy to concede that like Greece, like Greek tradition, is Western values than like that of Semitic peoples. Like it's nonsensical, really, but it's been connected and it's inseparable now. Dude, right wing have said Greece and Rome was the birth of Western society. But like, I think that's not a particularly right wing thing. I think like most Western scholars and like, you know, Western academia concludes that Greece and Rome is the birth of Western civilization and Western society in its modern form. I can go with that, but like I would even argue that Greece isn't. Like Rome, you could really make that argument, but like, you know, it's in fucking Europe, it's in Western Europe, but like fucking Greece, no. Like, come on. So like Western civilization really should be about Western Europe, and like Greece, like the Greek civilization, that is the foundation of Western civilization, was really based on Phoenician civilization. So it's fucking Arabic anyway. So like it's a stretch, but like most people won't talk about that, I guess. That's part of manufacturing consent for white colonization. And Israel has some abhorrent laws. Not inclusive, but it's something I've seen a few times over the years. Yeah, look, it's there. The Western canon is founded in Greece, like ancient Greek civilization. I get it. That's why. True, doner kebab better than gyros. Like, no, it's not. I actually love gyros. I think I like it more than kebabs. That's my guilty admission here. Everybody loves a kebab, but I do think gyros is better. I'm gonna just admit that there. Put that on the slide there. That's my purpose of Bibi's own admission. If you ever watched him before him be interviewed, he explains how important it is to tie Judaism with Israel. Yes. And like, you got to say the line. Like, I've seen that propaganda talking point like talked a lot is like Judeo-Christian values. And so like they pay people to talk about Judeo, like you don't mention Christianity anymore without the Judeo part. And like that's a big thing for the propaganda machine as well. Like what was his name? What's the guy from Turning Point Australia? I can see his face now. And he's Syrian Lebanese. And he was like, I was being asked by Is Not Rail to say Judeo-Christian every time I mentioned like Christianity and stuff like that. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not taking your money. Because he's against the state of Israel. Because Israel displaced his family from Syria and Lebanon. What's his Joey Jamal or something? Joey Jamal. That's the guy. Yes, thank you. Joel. Sorry, not Joey. Joel Jamal. Yes, that's the guy. Yeah, thank you. Avi Yemeni. Yeah, he loves a bit of Izzy, doesn't he? Hey, Avi.
Go back to the ban. You were due to speak at Oxford Union. What were you going to say at Oxford that was so dangerous? Maybe you can say it now.
I mean, I don't really know. It was supposed to be a debate between myself and my uncle. So I maybe Shaban Mahmoud has a better idea of what I was about to say at Oxford Union. But we're still doing that conversation tomorrow. And I don't know what the conversation was going to be about, but I do know what I have said at Oxford Union last time I was there last year. And that was an extensive conversation around the dangers of anti-Semitism, ironically enough. One of the biggest dangers being the false conflation between Judaism and Zionism, and how a lot of conservatives, a lot of Zionist Jews don't recognize that this personal connection that they present is actually teaching people the wrong lesson, and that a lot of people don't realize that Israel is falling out of favor. And at the time, this was a year and a half ago, it had already started falling out of favor. It wasn't as unpopular as it is now, because Israel officially is a pariah state in the Western world now, is viewed as such by the masses. But what I was trying to compare it to is like, look, I'm Muslim. I'm a Muslim American, right? Like in the aftermath of 9/11, this would be equivalent to me running around being like, I love ISIS. Like, and if you actually criticize the Islamic State, like, and their attempts to create the Islamic Caliphate, you're being Islamophobic. That argument is ridiculous, right? And that's what it's going to turn into. And that's only going to foment more anti-Semitism and create more anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, especially when you have advocacy organizations actively censoring people. And then I fell victim to that same warning that I was presenting.
Well, can I jump in here? Because there is some degree of a distance between us on one thing. Now, there's no doubt that Israel is using Nazi-like techniques of total annihilation in Gaza. What is the difference between what the Nazis did at the Warsaw Ghetto and what they're doing to Gaza? Not just since 7th of October, but for decades now. It's a ghetto. Gaza is not a country. There's no war. It's a ghetto. They're shooting at them as fish in a barrel. They've been doing it now for decades. It's a Warsaw Ghetto writ large, and that lasts much longer. But I still believe, I hold on to the old-fashioned view that the Nazis were uniquely evil. And the reason why I say that is because, what the Israelis are now doing in Gaza is genocide, and what they're doing in the West Bank is rabid ethnic cleansing. But the uniqueness of the Holocaust, in my mind, I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, boils down to the attitude of the Nazis, their mindset that remind me of that of a collector. Take a stamp collector. A stamp collector wants to collect every fucking stamp there is of the particular, of Bolivia or of Mexico, whatever. Yeah, he needs to put it in his collection, every single one. The Nazis were exactly the same. They wanted to kill every Jew there was. Before they set out to come to Thessaloniki in Greece, to go to wherever it is they went to wipe out whole Jewish communities, they had, since the 1930s, the early 1930s, they had mapped out the cities that they were going to occupy. They knew the telephone numbers and the addresses, if they had telephones back then, of the Jews that they wanted to pick up. They were like stamp collectors. Whereas, the Israelis, if the West, let's say, shoves the Palestinians into container ships and takes them over to Nigeria or to Texas or to wherever, I think, the Netanyahus of the world are going to be very upset because they will lose their raison d'etre, which is to carry out the genocide slowly. But they're not going to chase them to the four corners of the earth to kill them all. The Nazis were unique in that. But that doesn't mean that, I take your point, the Netanyahus of the world feel utterly free to make the Nazi comparisons. But if you make it, or if I make it, we're immediately condemned. And also, the other point I wanted to make...
Well, I don't know, man. Like, Yanis has even talked about this himself. I'm going to push back on Yanis using his own fucking rhetoric here. Like, he has documented how companies like Palantir and other surveillance software that is used by both the Israeli and the American deep state has basically turned Gaza, the shooting fish in a barrel analogy that he used before. They have got full and complete understanding, because everybody's got phones. They've got full and complete understanding of every single citizen inside Gaza. They understand where people are at all times even better than what the Nazis would have been able to understand about the local Jewish population in whatever city they were trying to eradicate them from. They're watching these people all the fucking time, and they were using all of that information to take out members of Hamas all the time over the last 2 years. They've been watching these people, and they've got profiles, and because they've got such information, they're able to use AI to carry out the strikes and the killings and stuff like that without really humans having to be in control of that process. They just get lists. They get artificial intelligence to make hit lists of people in Gaza because they're monitoring them all through their phones all the time. They're bouncing off the signals. They know where people are. And so it's even better than, Nazis who have got people's names and phone numbers on a register and want to take them out. They know where they are all the time because of the super surveillance technology. And so maybe they might not have as malicious as an intent, but they've got them better than any stamp collection. They know where they are at all times, and they just print out lists of people and then just press a button to strike them down. It's even more detached than sending people in and pulling them away from their homes. Yeah, I think his point was more they're not as rabid about the eradication. The Nazis literally couldn't stand the Jews. The trains would arrive with more already dead than alive. Yeah, I guess it's not as rabid, but it's even more systematic, the eradication. So they're across this, greatly across this. I want Yanis to read me bedtime stories each night. So yeah, I love his presentation style as well. It's not like they've done anything target people with electronic devices like beepers or anything, or bragged about it by gifting a golden statue of the devices, then carried out the attacks to the president of the US. It's not that happened or anything. Yeah, less rabid, more clinical and detached. Yeah, but I guess rabid is what does that even mean at the end of the day? when you are just wiping someone out. If you're doing it out of pure hatred, or you're doing it because of some like cleansing, what's the difference, I guess, really, or objectively? You're going to cleanse the land of someone, whether you hate them or just think you're superior to them or they shouldn't exist. I guess, does it really matter at the end of the day?
That came to me when you were speaking is that, this view that the Muslims that arrive in Europe are bringing with them anti-Semitism is pathetic for historical reasons. I mean, the only places on earth where the Jews were completely safe and totally, free, liberated of an anti-Semitic environment, which were those cities? Baghdad, right?
Yeah. The Ottoman Empire was a safe haven.
Salonika, Istanbul. Those were the, Cairo. Those were the places where the Jews never faced anti-Semitism. The moment they came to Europe, it was anti-Semitism galore.
Yeah. So can I push back on this? Because in a comradely manner. So,
of course.
Well, two reasons. One, the Nazi comparison isn't to make a one-to-one comparison regardless, because obviously the Israeli genocide has not reached the standard of the Holocaust yet, right? But you brought up the intentionality argument that the Nazis were intending to wipe out every single Jewish person wherever they could get their hands on them. And there's definitely truth there. Now, obviously, there's a couple different scholarly debates on the issue, on this issue in particular. The idea of like, did they set out to wholesale slaughter every single Jewish person from the start, or did it evolve into that over time? But that's not the.
That's it. I mean, it's important to note, because the more violent the eradication, the more the atrocities. But the eradication itself is the big deal. Yeah. Like, I just find they're not shipping them off the camps. They've got an open air camp already, and they're just letting them starve out inside there. So, like, there's just no trains this time. Guys, I don't know about you. I feel like the social cohesion is falling apart from this conversation. Yes, we got to watch out there. Hey? Can't have threats to social cohesion. Hey? Gang. Hi to the sausage in the house. How you going? Hope everyone's having a good time in their public holiday, all you Australians out there.
Conversation that I'm interested in having. The mentality that I have on this is twofold. One, this is the principle of why we have tremendous amounts of Holocaust scholarship and studies in genocides in particular, so that we understand it, we identify it, we recognize the banality of evil, we recognize how societies can turn into genocidal societies and how people refuse to oppose it. And it's the same principle behind the intentionality debate, or the intentionality of the genocide statute. We have that so that we can stop a genocide while it's happening, rather than oppose it after.
Somebody think of the cohesion. Lovely.
It's done, and then calculate the death toll, and then recognize that it's a genocide if a sufficient number of people have been killed. But the second opinion that I want to put forward is Amy Cesar, who has talked about the non-exceptional or non-unique nature of the Holocaust and discourse on colonialism, where the passage goes, yes, it would be worthwhile to study clinically in detail the steps taken by Hitler and Hitlerism, and to reveal the very distinguished, very humanistic, very Christian bourgeois of the 20th century, that without his being aware of it, he has a Hitler inside him, that Hitler inhabits him, that Hitler is his demon, that if he rails against him, he is being inconsistent, and at bottom, what he cannot forgive Hitler for is not the crime in itself, the crime against man. It is not the humiliation of man as such. It is the crime against the white man, the humiliation of the white man, and the fact that he applied to Europe colonialist procedures, which until then had been reserved exclusively for the Arabs of Algeria, the coolies of India, and the N-words of Africa. And I think there is a similar situation unfolding here as well, where Arabs, by and large, due to Orientalism and due to the dehumanization that they've been subjected to, are not being seen as human in the same way that the victims in October 7 are. Because the victims in October 7, the civilian population of Israeli society broadly, well, they live in towns similar to...
Hey, happy Monday, working on a public holiday is very community-minded of you. Thank you. My partner asked me, because she has the day off. She was like, oh, work today? I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I don't know if anybody will be around. I'm hoping they're out doing whatever the fuck they feel like doing. But if people are willing to hang out, let's fucking hang out. Hey, all the Aussies out there that want to hang out. And then we have, hey, the internationals. Got to hang out. And got to talk shop with our comrades all around the world. Kind of like, is Hitler in the room with us right now? Such a commie, lol, yes. Okay, but had anyone thought about Hitler? Okay, but had anyone thought about Hitler? Had dog Hasan? Has dog? He's basically Hitler. Our holiday was last Monday. Always here to hang out. Fuck yeah, there it is. Wait. You had a king's birthday holiday last Monday? Wow, it's crazy. Why don't you join the rest of the nation and like we can all just hang out together on the king's birthday? Hey, we're all just one country. Hey, Australia, New Zealand. Let's do it together. LOL, not a German Shepherd though. Savage. Activate the like button. Today is okay. If it gets paid double time, fuck yeah. Like button getting double time. Alright. We will do it once you kick foreign capital out. Alright, fair enough. I'm working on it, bro. I'm working on it. Thank you, King, for this kush. Double time and a half. Thanks, unions. Yeah, say it right. Thank you.
Ours. They that the victims in October 7 are. Because the victims in October 7, the civilian population of Israeli society broadly, well, they live in towns similar to ours. They sometimes travel to Europe. They have family members, immediate family members that live in our neighborhoods. So, of course, October 7 is an exceptionally unique pogrom against Jews is the way that it was presented to me on LBC earlier today. So it's top of mind for me at this moment, as opposed to my real slight that could be perceived as anti-Semitic because I've said Israel is 1,000 times worse than Hamas. And as a harm reduction voter, I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time. You can only arrive at that conclusion if you think, and this ties up with the Nazi comparisons being seen as too offensive, right? Not by you to obviously, I'm just saying broadly when people say it's like unacceptable, right? Because I think we can have a reasonable disagreement on this, but I don't think you would make that the biggest point of contention at all, whereas some people do. The idea is that some people are collateralized. And in this circumstance, Arabs are collateralized. Muslims are collateralized. There's a justification for why they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, as opposed to human beings that are seen as full human beings are victims, unconditionally victims. And this is the reason why I brought up the Amy Cesar comparison, because I think Germany itself had participated in genocides that are mechanized and unbelievably heinous. Belgium as well, and they don't get the same emphasis.
Look, there's nothing that you said that I disagree with. I don't see any contestation there. For me, I'm fascinated by this.
What was his point though? Like just asking for a friend. Like his point is like, no, like the way that the Nazis went after Jews in Europe, it really is no different to the way that Israel is going about taking apart Palestine piece by piece. Like they're being dehumanized and they're being eradicated. So like it's not one to one. But that's not the point of a comparison, though. It's not to be exact. It's supposed to draw ties between things. He said nothing. Say G. Come on, bro. Be civil. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. It's good to have you. Hope you're well. Having a mixed breed dog is very anti-Nazi. Is that why they were trying to say she was a designer dog? I know nothing. Nothing. It shows similar behaviors and justifications for said behaviors. Yes, yeah. All right, back to it. Let's see how he responds.
Stamp collector's image of certain Nazis, not all of them. Because as you said, in 1932 it was different. I mean, this stamp collector's mentality was very confined in a group of 20 Nazis. But then, as time progressed, I mean, most of the Nazi party in 1935-36 would have been happy if all the Jews were to be evacuated from Europe. But
Madagascar plan.
For some of them, it wasn't enough. And I think philosophically, this is quite fascinating for me. That, you know, when I found out that they had written down whole catalogs of all the Jews across Europe, well before, 5-6 years before they occupied those cities, that is, it's mind-boggling. But, it doesn't stop us from making the points that you made, which are very well taken and received, that, as you said, the Arabs are collateralized. The Palestinians are treated as Untermenschen, as subhuman. There is the other point which you raised, which I think is absolutely spot on, is that, the outrage.
I thought I heard that too. Did a dog just bark? Yeah, it's not in your house. I think that's coming out of this stream right here. I heard it.
Against Hitler was primarily because he treated the French or the Poles in particular, as if they were Congolese, as if they were Arabs. They had no problem with what the King of Belgium was doing in the Congo. They had no problem with what later in the 50s the French were doing in Algiers, but not to white European Christians, right? So absolutely, I take your point entirely.
Yanis, can I bring it to present-day Germany and what happened to you 2 years ago when you were banned from entering Germany because you were attending the Berlin Palestine Congress? Can you tell us what happened there briefly and what did it teach you? What might Hasan expect now based on your experience and knowledge in that area?
Oh, by the way, that saga continues. I just heard today that my court case, I've taken the German authorities to court over that ban, is going to be brought to trial sometime in the second part of 2026. And I'm very much looking forward to attending. And it's interesting that I will be able to attempt, even though there was this ban against me. And I will just give you a very brief account of why. Because that ban was broken when BMW invited me to give a keynote speech at their offices. So you see, sometimes capital, goes into conflict with its own stooges' outrageous behavior. Anyway,
but we know who the real masters are, right? I mean, it's ultimately still capital. That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah. So, if Elon Musk wanted to, your ban would have been overturned.
They started talking about capital. Yay! Yeah, fucking capitalists. It's the system that's the problem. My personal belief is that if it looks like a fash, sings like a fash, creates policy aligned with the fash, they are a fash, regardless of motivation. The policy defines it for me. Yeah, fair enough. Yanis elbow cough could talk me into anything. Hey. Yeah, well, I thought I was good. I thought I was tripping. No, definitely not. I bet this guy collects stamps on something. I don't even get the comparison. Guy was banned from Germany. Yeah, he was. Yeah. It was a few years back. I'm pretty sure, like a couple of years ago now. He was like advocating strongly against the genocide in Palestine. And he wasn't allowed to go into Germany, and he's been fighting it since. I think it was really at the height of all of the protests in like around the world and stuff like that. Did a dog bark too? Was that a rooster to this stream's animal inquiries? Was that a rooster? Yeah. It happens a lot when we watch this guy. That's so good. So good. Yanis ASMR. LOL, no hobby shaming here. I collect teapots. MI looks at hands in horror. Alright. What's this? I mean, the other major difference is the Nazis constantly were revising borders and taking land. The genocide was in the name of wiping out Jews, but also furthering the expansion. I'm like, they are expanding, as in like Israel, the Israeli regime, as you like to say, Spandong. They are actually doing the same thing in that regard. Like they're actually moving in. Like we were discussing last week about the whole. Do you remember the Board of Peace and the peace deal? It had the yellow line around the part of Gaza that was controlled by Israel and wasn't, and they've like eaten into 70% of that is gone. Like they are expanding, and like they are expanding elsewhere, like into Lebanon and the West Bank and all that sort of stuff. So, yellow lines of the piss deal. Yeah. So like, I'm not sure what you mean there. So like, yes, maybe expansion in a different way, like with border drawing and stuff, but they're definitely expanding, I would say. Never mind. I like hobby collecting and stuff. I zoned out watching some dude open hockey card packs. Oh yeah, well, yeah. We'll see how that goes. But I mean, the Nazis also took incredible amounts of land. Little different. Okay. Fair enough. Like, what do you mean by incredible amounts of land? Compared to what? Like multiple foreign occupations at the same time. Okay, well, like we got Lebanon, Syria, Palestine. Like that is multiple. That is kind of the definition of multiple, I guess. But like, have they got as many options? I don't know. How many people residing here have served in the IOF? We have their soldiers here on R&R. I don't like it, but they were widely successful. France, Poland, most of Europe. Okay. But like, it's, again, if we're just comparing stuff, like it is a comparison. Yes, it's not 1-to-1, but it is a comparison. No, Peace Prize, huh? That's it. I'm going to start my own peace organization with blackjack and hookers. On second thought, forget the peace. Tell me you made that. Tell me you made that, please, bro. Tell me you made that, Hobo Joe. Fucking tell me. I gotta do this. This is what's for you, 4IS. You know what? Forget the peace. Oh man. Oh, 4IS, you are here. I just tagged you in it just to make sure you didn't miss it. You saw it. So good. Hobo Joe, tell me you made that. Yeah, apples and oranges are still fruits. Bro, someone show this chat a stream of some trains and plane schematics and watch us go nuts. So good. Hey, thank you very much, Hobo Joe. All right, back to it. We're only halfway through. A little bit more. We're doing well.
Yeah.
So, but look, in my case, Hasan, I think the reason why
no need to make it. There's so many of them.
Was banned was not something I had said, but because our organization, TM25, we had the audacity to organize a conference in Berlin on the very subversive topic. The theme was a just peace in the Middle East, a heinous crime, right? A just peace in the Middle East. Yeah. So what irked them? What made them go through this process of banning him in a way which was actually, I mean, it was very clumsy. They were always going to lose legally within their own country. And I think I'm going to win this court case. But of course, too late.
Xavier Edwards, 5362. Hello, Mr. A. I've started watching you after Friendly Geordies, but I would like to say it's not all of Australia has a public holiday today. In Queensland, it isn't his birthday today. What the fuck? I thought it was like national. That's an outrage, that is. That's a bloody outrage, that is. Really? Fuck. I thought everybody had a public holiday today. I'm sorry. I must admit. I have spoken out of turn. Out fucking Regis. Yeah, WA 2. What, you don't have a public holiday? Whoa. Damn. I thought it was just national. It's okay. I'll smoke enough for everyone today. Oh, so good. Okay. All right. Queensland doesn't even have daylight savings, though. They like to be different. Yeah, fair enough. Daylight savings, like, it's pretty fucking controversial. Hey, somebody think of the cows. All right, Xavier, thanks for setting the record straight there. I thought you were on public holiday in WA. God damn. Ha! Queensland only celebrates the real Queen, Pauline. Yes. The Red Queen. It's so good. It's like New South Wales has a bank holiday when NP1 else does. When no one else does. Hey, save some for the rest of us. double P today. Can't complain. Yeah, fuck yeah. Daylight savings sucks. Throws off my dogs. LOL. Throws everybody off. Hey, the poor cows. Mamupa. Queensland is God's country. Bloody Mexicans. Mamupa's in the house. Hope you're well. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe for more and follow on Twitch. That's right. I think I said that right. Follow away. Follow. I'm fucking outraged. I am. I can't believe this. I thought everybody had the same King's birthday celebration. I'm fucking outraged. I am. Can you list state by state and territories the dates of the King's birthday public holiday in Australia? New South Wales, Monday, 8th of June. Victoria, Monday, 8th of June. South Australia, 8th of June. Tasmania, Monday, 8th of June. Capital Territory, 8th of June. Northern Territory, Monday. Western Australia, 28th of September. Queensland, 5th of October. Oh my God. I thought this was the one thing we fucking collectivized around. Apparently not. Given the topic and subjects, I have to do him justice and repost. Oh, God damn. I can't believe it. Oh, that clears it up. Our research assistant has spoken and Xavier has been exonerated, vindicated. Thanks for letting us know. Enjoy your usual day, and I hope you enjoy the 5th of October. Enjoy that. I didn't realize today was a public holiday when I put my long service in. Long live the king. SA must have better workers' rights. It's double time and a half on public holidays. We couldn't even shop before 11 a.m. on Sundays until recently. Yes. Yeah, that is a new thing. I remember when I was a kid, like shops wouldn't open up before a certain time. Like 1 p.m. I thought, depending on the public holiday though.
I think that the reason why they were so pissed off was because of who the co-organizers were. The co-organizers of that conference were Jews, German Jews, who were treated, because they could not be banned. They were in Berlin. They were in situ. So when people like Udi Ratz and various other friends of ours and comrades, Jews, turned up in that conference, one of them was holding a little placard that he had written himself saying, "Jews against genocide." And he was beaten up by police. And while he was being beaten up...
Yeah, an Aryan policeman.
Yeah, exactly. While he was beaten up, he said, would it have been okay if I said Jews in favor of genocide? And then he was beaten up even more. So, that's a difference. In the United Kingdom, it was just a very vulgar application of the rule that, this Labour government can never go against the Israeli lobby. It really is very simple. In our case in Berlin, it was a bit more sophisticated than that. They were essentially banning me to get at the Jews, the German Jews, that did not support genocide. Insufficient support of genocide.
Northern Queensland succession is the dream. Oh my God. Good luck with that, bro. Good luck with that. Northern Queensland, not Queensland, Northern Queensland succession is the dream. Like, good luck. Eh? China's coming to get ya. Eh? China's coming to get ya.
This is an outrageous crime today in liberal Europe.
And as they call themselves, they're the wrong kind of Jew in Germany. For our stateside audience who may not be aware of this, Germany is still way ahead of the UK in terms of the extent of the repression of pro-Palestine activism. I mean, just look at the case, for example, of Hussein Degru, who we've spoken with. DOGRU. You know it, Hasan. I mean, that's just insane.
Well, he's another Turk that's being unjustly maligned by the European Union countries.
But I don't know whether you know that in the case of Hussein, we're talking about the same person.
Hussein Doğru, yeah.
Yeah. In his case, what his case demonstrates is that the German state learned its lesson from me. Why am I saying that? Because when they banned me, it was the German authorities that banned me, which meant, as a European citizen, I had the right to take them to the German courts. The German authorities did something, I had the right to take them to the German courts. And the moment I took them to the German courts, they were in a bind. because they could see that they could not win that court case. This is why they've been delaying it. You know, the hearing of this trial has been postponed again and again and again. Now it's almost 2.5 years. So in the case of Hussein, you know what they did? It wasn't the German authorities that went for him. It was the European Commission under Ursula von der Leyen that banned him, and she created a delicious catch-22. That is, he's banned from exiting Germany by Brussels, not by Germany. So he cannot take the German authorities to the German courts because they didn't do anything against him. So he has to take them to the European courts in Brussels, but he's banned from traveling to Brussels. You know, that is ingenious, isn't it? I mean,
no, it's devastating.
In a much more sophisticated manner.
Yeah, and the sanctions on top of that. And I do find that there is a delicious irony in not just that, but also that recently France got a little bit of the same kind of medicine that they dished out to the likes of Hussein Douro, where, if I recall correctly, there was a French prosecutor in the either ICC or the ICJ that was victim to the American sanctions because of, you know, their following their job in prosecuting Israel to some capacity, or Israeli officials in some capacity, and Visa, MasterCard, and all of these other American corporations, which dovetails perfectly to your latest book as well about techno-feudalism, decided to...
We heard this story before from Yanis on this channel, about him getting sidelined in Germany and not being able to go there for part of the protests. Is that what you're talking about? God, Hasan is unlikable. Hey, Captain Bucket, you and Jag should get together sometime. Have a yarn. Not wrong.
Abide by American restrictions that were applied to a Frenchman who was a French judge on an international court doing his job, and now all of a sudden he couldn't use his credit cards. And this became a major issue for France because this was a violation of the sovereignty of a European citizen who was simply doing their job. It was the ICC judge, is what my chat is saying. They're correcting me. So that's precisely what the European Commission has done to Hussein Douro, trapped him inside of Germany and gone far beyond that. As a matter of fact, I believe not only he is sanctioned, but his family is also sanctioned. He has like a minor stipend that he gets. And that's the only money that he can have. He can't use any of his bank accounts. His family can't use any of their bank accounts. So they're genuinely suffering right now in this torturous legal limbo.
You were just waiting, bro. I knew it. He was watching the chat. It's so good. Oh my god, I knew it.
And again, that is so unbelievably unprincipled for Europe to do. It shocks the conscious, and yet for some reason there isn't mass protest against this.
But you know what? You mentioned Nicolas Guillou, that's a French judge. The judge who was appointed by the French state to the International Criminal Court, right? I mean, he's doing the job that the French state gave him, and the French state does not defend him from being debanked within France. He cannot book a hotel room in his own country. And but you said something that I need to correct to some extent. You said there was a big hoopla in France. No, there wasn't. There wasn't.
I read some articles about it, so I might have over...
articles. But you know what? It's not a big issue. I mean, those of us who are, totally clued in, and the Mélenchon followers in France and so on are making a big song and dance about that, rightly so. But it is not as big an issue as it ought to be. You see, like the rightists who didn't defend you.
Take a shot every time my son looks at his chat. Somebody already said that. I think it was Hobo Joe said that before.
On the basis of your freedom of speech, which supposedly is their number one priority. Similarly, what happened to all the Gaullists? All the right-wing French men and women who claim to care above all else about French, national pride. They were
sovereignty.
Silent. They were silent.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I find really frustrating when I have these conversations, because I have an international audience as well. And one of the things that is so unbelievable to me is the idea that European states have become total vassals, right? And we saw a version of this when the Trump administration, with all of its bravado, decided to claim to lay claim over
sovereign citizen. Hey, the total vassals have become total vassals. I don't know, it's been like that for a long time. Hey, especially here in Australia. Oh my god.
Greenland, right? To annex Greenland militarily, potentially, and all of these European leaders were like, "What are you doing? This is a NATO country's territory. You can't do that. We'll give you whatever you need. What do you mean you want to militarily annex it?" And there was this big chaos, and I thought maybe this would be an opportunity for some European leaders, some political opposition, with the exception of obviously Mélenchon, to use this crisis to remind people that Europe should remain sovereign. Middle powers, when they come together under the banner of the European Union, for example, are actually a fairly powerful force, a very important market, for example. And yet, no, they went back to business as usual. I mean, Macron's text messages, the private conversations he was having with Donald Trump, showcased their highest priority. He was saying, like, Mr. President, don't focus on Greenland. Let's focus on Iran together, which we now know was also another spectacular quagmire where Europe is once again a victim of its own servility.
Rutte, the former Dutch prime minister and currently top dog at NATO, because he's an idiot, he told a fascinating truth. He let it slip. He was saying this as something which is good. He actually stated it for the record on camera that NATO is not about European defense, but it is a foundation, a platform from which the United States can project its authority, its power globally. So in other words, we're being used as a military base.
I wonder if that's true. This Mark Rutte guy, like, I don't know if you've ever come across him, but like he's like the chief of NATO, and like he's often up there doing the press conferences, answering the questions whenever like the back door deals happen between, I don't know, the president of the United States and the rest of the Europeans, and they figured something out and they're going to decide what to do about like Russia's drone incursions or etc., etc., etc. I can't believe I wonder what the context Yanis is talking about, where he actually admitted that NATO isn't about the defense of Europe, but is actually just another vehicle for, like basically their global policy kind of thing. It's like how NATO extends all the way into, like Turkey and into like former Russian territories, and like Australia has diplomatic ties or like defense treaties with NATO, like partnerships with NATO. Like there's Asian NATO and stuff like that. It is a tool of kind of a global control. But I wonder what context he actually let it slip. That would be good to hear. Han, what is this I am hearing? The founder of the Green Party in Australia quit because the young leftists in the party are insufferable. Like, are you talking about like Bob Brown leaving? Like, are we talking about ancient history here, Han? But like, are young leftists insufferable? Like, would you like the short answer or the long answer on that one? Give you the short one if you're interesting. Yes, many young leftists, especially associated with the Greens, I would say, are probably very insufferable people. Okay? But they try. They mean well. They mean well. Is it the military? It's the military of the American Empire. Facts. Yeah, okay. Ravi Hasan has said his biggest fear is that all the US military bases become US military invasions. Yes, I'm annoying as fuck. Ha ha ha. Tell Han to read Whitlam's Children by Sean Crow. Did you hear that, Han? That one's for you, bro. Would you like the long or the short answer? Is the best response. I'll just give you the short one until you tell me otherwise.
For America to conduct wars against enemies that we don't have, in pursuit of interests that clash with our own. But, Hasan, I have never, because I come from a communist background, and my father, and because I cut my teeth demonstrating against NATO in the streets of Athens in the 1970s, I never had absolutely any illusion that Europe was ever sovereign. I mean, in the case of your parents' country and my parents' country, Turkey and Greece. I mean, we were told in no uncertain terms, you have to go into NATO first. And then we'll talk about anything else, right? In other words, first you grant military bases, nuclear military bases, the United States of A, and then we can talk about anything you may be interested in. So, think of Portugal, think of Spain, think of Albania, Northern Macedonia, Greece, Poland, all those countries, in order to be considered for the European Union, they first had to kiss Washington's ring, they had to enter NATO, with the exception of two countries, Ireland and Austria, because that was an agreement with the Soviet Union in 1945 that they would be neutral, right? So vassalage does not start now with Macron and Trump. It started with the Truman Doctrine in 1947, which starts with two countries. Remember which? Turkey and Greece.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because I'm getting messages now, hate messages from my people here in Greece, not my people, from people of the Greek disposition, saying, oh, you are proving tonight, Varoufakis, that you are siding with the Turk against your fatherland.
Yeah, that's what principled international solidarity looks like, where national boundaries are less important than engaging against imperial superpowers and the vestiges of American empire, NATO being one of them. Turks don't say that for me, as a matter of fact. They don't get mad about that, because Turkey's in this unique situation where my father's nation is very anti-America, but it's also very servile to American interests at the same time. So it's always funny to see Turks hate NATO on principle, but then simultaneously, continue to have nuclear armed American military bases, which maybe Israel might actually take care of, all things considered. Now that Turkey is apparently the next target once they're done with Iran, they've floated the idea of like Egypt and Turkey being the next stage in their endless appetite for expansion.
I don't believe that. I think they have enough opportunities to wage war in the rest of the, Israel, in the end, Netanyahu, when push comes to shove, is going to find some modus vivendi with Erdogan, with Sisi as well. It's all the other populations from Greece all the way to Pakistan that are going to suffer.
But now we're talking about geopolitics. Maybe I can ask you both, and maybe start with you, Yanis. Simple question, why does so much of the West bend the knee to Israel? Is it coercion? Is it conviction? What? How much of each?
Well, two things. Allow me to answer in two dimensions. The first one is because Israel is not doing anything different to what Europe was doing 200-300 years ago. It's white settler colonialism, except that it's doing it 200-300 years later, after it was all supposed to be, after white settler colonialism was no longer au fait, right? When the British went to Australia in the 1780s, they looked at the coast of what is today New South Wales, the Sydney area, and they said, we love this. They noticed there were about 5 million, 6 million Aborigines. So they said, oh, well, these are not real human beings. We'll call this an empty land, a land without a people for a people without a land, right? I mean, that's Zionism. And then when they wanted to get rid of the Jews, they said, okay, you go to Palestine, you call the Palestinians, non-people, and you call Palestine a land without a people for a people without a land. So, there is philosophical and historical
Shout
affinity
out to
between
Australian atrocities. Hey, I feel so seen. Very interesting. He's bringing that up, but he loves bringing up little Australian examples of things, of like how capitalism works. He has a really interesting explanation of how capitalism works from like the founding of like British colonies and stuff like that around different parts of Australia. I think he does a really interesting one in techno-feudalism, actually. Holy shit, what a terrible argument. The West doesn't complain because they secretly like colonialism. Just ignore who abolished it. Definitely still operating on 300-year ideology. Yup. Well, like, you don't think like that is a thing? That like they, on paper, decolonialize, but then still support colonialization? In actual practice, you don't think that's a fair description of what's going on there? Like going into a place, displacing the local people and setting up shop there, and then slowly kind of eradicating them. No way. Oh, okay, fair enough. Wow. I would say the West loves what colonialism has done for them. Yeah. That's where the manufacturing consent comes from. When you dehumanize the enemy, the perceived good guy might actually become the baddies. I can't look at the word baddies now without thinking of that clip. I guess that was the point of you sharing that clip that time. Wait, were the baddies? Spandog, if they didn't, they'd hold on to their own colonies more? Like, can we name one other example? Or just is not real? Like, of colonialism? Like, the only forms of colonialism that I can really talk about are like what is going on here. It's like indirect or implicit colonialism. So like when like the American deep state like controls a South American country, like a Banana Republic style example, for American corporations, and like put in some type of puppet regime, that will allow American corporations to go in, privatize resources, and control the working populations of that land. Like, that's not colonialism, because it's not like Americans are going there and implanting the American flag on that territory and guarding it with their own soldiers and resources. But like, it's deep state functions controlling a territory and installing a political regime that aligns with, American interests. That is akin to colonialism and what like people refer to as imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism. So like that sort of stuff, that happens a lot. But like, are you looking for like flag in ground colonialism, like when the British sent ships full of troops to go and take over some place? Is that what you mean? Like that type of colonialism? There's also like there's neo-colonialism. There's digital colonialism these days, where you don't even have to go to a country. You can kind of take its resources, its labor force, by controlling labor, like cheap labor overseas, through algorithms, to like train, like your machine learning and your artificial intelligence. So like colonialism has always been about access to resources and labor. So like now you just don't have to do it at gunpoint, I guess. Soviet satellite nations, they're good examples of a style of modern colonialism, but like they don't exist anymore. And like I think Spandok's looking for modern examples. I mean, doesn't that have to be flag in the ground to say Singapore and other old colonies? It doesn't have to be. So like, which side are you arguing for? I thought you said that colonialism doesn't exist. Oh wait, sorry, you said something else. Is there anywhere else we could draw a comparison and say, hey, look, they're doing it here too, to solidify the argument about colonialism and not just about something with Israel specifically? Well, like I've given you examples. Like colonialism today is done through capital, like foreign capital, and like deep state organizations. That's what I think. But like, if you're looking at one for one with Is Not Rail, then like I don't know if we're talking about the transition of like an entire diaspora. Puerto Rico? That's interesting. Why Puerto Rico? Is it because they don't have like proper enfranchisement? Like they're controlled by the US, but they don't have like actual rights and stuff? Hawaii? But like they've got political enfranchisement, right? Hawaii. I think I'm missing Spain. I think so as well. Like, you can't say it's colonialism just because Israel does it. It's like, well, yeah, you can, if like the shoe fits, kind of thing. But like other examples, again, like I can think of it in like kind of the sense of how foreign capital moves and takes over places with the help of deep state organizations. And like, military force, or the threat of military force as well. I'm interested in the Puerto Rico example as well. If you can enlighten me, please.
What the Zionists are doing, and white settler colonialism in Canada, in the United States, in Central America, in Australia, in New Zealand, blah 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 blah. What the Belgians did in the Congo, and so on and so forth. So that is the historical, philosophical thing. And then, of course, the British started it all with the Balfour Declaration, and then in 1945 they decided that Israel would serve them.
Isn't the point that the West is still endorsing colonialism isn't the case because it is the exception to the rule? Isn't the case? Oh, it's just an exception. Like it's just like, don't worry about it. It's just a one-off. In the support from the West and why it exists argument, I'm not just getting the connection between colonialism and Israel. I can see how neoliberalism influences big business decisions, but I don't see direct colonialism comparisons. Sorry. Okay. Well, I guess if you're looking for one-to-one, like going out with ships and then like putting a flag in the soil and saying this is mine, then like does that colonialism really happen? And like that form of colonialism is really resource intensive, and it only really works when you have like absolute technological superiority, which is the case for most of the time. Like, you know, like how the fuck did Britain pull off ensnaring China and India? Like those like populations, like massive populations, advanced civilizations, like there was a technological difference there that allowed them to like, you know, really control entire populations of people. I don't know if you have those same conditions anymore, but like if you don't go somewhere with your flag and put it in somebody else's soil, it's not really colonialism. Like the nuance is that like it doesn't have to be that type of colonialism anymore. But like, you know, if you're looking for one-to-one, then I don't know if I can help you there. That's not my opinion of how imperialism is carried out or colonialism is carried out these days. No right to vote and limited constitutional rights, but still have to pay taxes. That's an interesting one. That's like, well, there you go. You got one there. There's a form of colonialism going on. You're a territory of ours, but you don't get fucking rights and enfranchisement, fucking mental stuff. One traditional meaning of the word colonialism, like what other nations does the West fund and for the name of colonialism, or is it just is not real? I think it's just like the support for Israel. I think that's what we're talking about here, right? Supporting them, like physically supporting them, not just like turning a blind eye, but like actually supporting them. There's a lot of that goes on, military support and like financial backing. Like, to be honest, if like Israel didn't have that, it'd be very arguable whether they could actually survive. So like their form of colony themselves to the West really depends on the definition. Well, that got cut off. Give me a second, Veltita. Really depends on the definition of colonialism, and if we're talking about the colonizing or the after effects of colonizing and how the systems of power that the colonizer set up in areas still have effect today. Because that's a pretty weak link based on one example. Colonialism is probably the wrong word, is all. It's also incredibly profitable to sell them weapons. I can literally see the profit benefit. Saying it's about something else, you'll have to convincing and pretty weak link. You have to convince me, I guess, and it's a pretty weak link, maybe. Living on a small island like Britain forced them to fight over resources and be more innovative to create better weapons. Wouldn't Indonesia and West Papua be modern day colonialism? Like Indonesia, like how, like what they've done there, like they've just like, and I'll take that, please, like kind of thing. Like that's mine now. Like with Timor as well, and like that sort of stuff. Is that what you mean, Xavier? That's a pretty fair example. And it's like not where you'd usually go to your arguments about colonialism, right? Captain Bucket, well, like everyone's got an opinion on this one. This is an interesting topic. Well, colonialism isn't just invading a country, it's completely restructuring the entire society of a country, whereas pulling out of it leaves the people in a worse place than where they were. I was thinking of India in general too, with Pakistan maybe. I'm just wondering if you would view that as colonialism too. Well, I don't know. Like, because like how like India and like Pakistan like should coexist as like one entity, but they've kind of been split off from each other. Greenland, yeah, interesting. But like they have a pretty good treaty, I thought. Like Greenland was a colonial outpost, right? Like of Denmark. But like I have a feeling from our investigations of the whole Greenland incident that like they act like more of a protectorate territory now, and they're like given a bit of assistance from what I understand. But like, is it a colonial outpost? Yeah, for sure. I think the argument of, but they stop colonialism as well is moot when you've completely changed the country for the worse. It's me getting hung up on the strict definition again. Yeah. Izzy bucks all the trends. The dirt they must have. Yes. That's a pretty fair example. There you go. We're going to go with Puerto Rico. We're going with Puerto Rico, and we're going to go with West Papua and Timor, potentially, here. So we got 2 examples for you. It exists. It exists. Isn't it mainly about who has control over the resource? That's how I define it, yes. What I'm suggesting, I'm going with the Voltateur example here, which is like colonialism has to morph in order to be acceptable and survive. And in the modern neoliberal era, like colonialism is not about putting a flag in the soil. It's about like the IMF and foreign capital controls and like deep state insurgencies to get puppet regimes in power. So like I'm going to go with the Voltateur world example here. It's just colonialism has only ever been about expansion of territory to get access to more resources to feed the machine that is capitalism. It's not just about expansive territories to like, in other points in time where it's been to get access to more territories for access to new slaves or to have more like of a buffer zone so you don't have incursions from other empires. The form of colonialism and empire now is about expanding access to capital. And like, remember, labor is a commodity in that. So labor power is a commodity. So capital seeks more labor and also expands to get those resources as well. Well, generally we support India over Pakistan a lot more. Would you say that's colonialism? Or do you think it's evolved into more of a profit-based relationship? Like, I can see the connection he's making. I just think calling it colonialism and not capitalism is probably the mistake. God, I can't fucking argue with you on that point. Like, hey, at the end of the day, like, that's capitalism, baby. So like, I'm gonna go with that one. I'm gonna go, can we call it neo-colonialism? Like, it is, like, that exists already, but yes, we can. I think Nauru would be a good example. Speaking of feeding the capitalist machine, I watched The Metropolis yesterday. It was great. Is that another one that I should watch? Like one of those things I should add to the list of many things I should watch? It's a movie, I'm assuming. Metropolis. No fucking way. Bastard. I just got that pen as well. I want it on the board. Damn it. McDonald's is a good catalyst for expanding your influence, but now everyone there is fat and you've destroyed their fishing market. Oh my God. Okay. Lovely. All right. We should finish this off. Like, we've got like 10 minutes to go. Well, technology has made it so you don't have to have a physical presence in other countries and make them your own. The threat of violence is now there through technology to make sure other countries do what the main superpower wants. Yeah, and like, it doesn't even have to be the threat of violence like traditional violence of invasion. Like, it can be a threat of violence like you see in relationships, like financial threats. Like, look at sanctions and embargoes and all that sort of stuff. Like, that shit is fucking hardcore. Like, you can wipe out an entire culture by cutting them off from the world, right? But it comes down to intent. Did Macca's intend to profit and the fat was a side effect they didn't care about? Or did they want to make everyone fat? We really need a book and movie recommendation in the Discord. Oh my God! That is such a fucking good idea. You absolute machine. That's such a good idea. Can I do that? Oh my God. What was that? What did you say? Need a book and movie recommendation. Book. You legend. Create channel. There you go. That one's for you. It's a fantastic idea. Dilemmas. On the flip side, the threat of capital flight is more real now. Can run a business from anywhere. And why not do it from a tax haven too? Eh? Now that's capitalism, baby. Hell yeah. I thought you wouldn't read about it was for books. Yeah, I guess it probably is, isn't it? But like, I've found that people put really interesting articles in there and you wouldn't read about it. It's been a while since I've had. Like, you've got the Shea one in there, which is good. But it used to be, you're right, it used to be just for like, there was plenty of books in there that people were recommending. Man, even Discord has evolved over time. Again, saith the stream historian. It literally says article studies and book recommendations. Link them here and give us your thoughts. Yeah, okay. So saith the historian. So good. Yes, fair enough. Maybe just the movie recommendations. I really need to know what movies I should be watching. Post links to the free access of said books and movies, please. All right, you're right. Here we go. Movie recommendations is a channel now. Yeah, we definitely need movies and series recommendation channel. We have reading and music covered. All right, let's do this.
Well, at the time when they would be withdrawing from empire as an aircraft carrier. Now, in 1947, they went bankrupt. So they passed it on to the United States that took over Palestine and Greece. That was in the middle of the Greek Civil War. Interestingly, the United States government was, up until 1947, it was against Zionism in Israel. And they were against the rightists in Greece during the Greek Civil War. But the moment the British went bankrupt, well, actually, were bankrupted by Washington on purpose. They handed over the keys to these civil wars, to these devastations, to these genocides, to the Americans. And the Americans took over, and the British and the rest of the European colonialists went along with it. And they were told that this is a smart way of securing monopoly rights over oil. And keeping the Russians out, the Soviets, and keeping the nationalists, the democratic movements of Egypt, of Iraq, of Lebanon, of Syria, of Jordan, keep them down. I mean, that's what it was. And at some point, the next step in this progression is in the last 10 years or so, when Israeli big tech became fused with American Silicon Valley big tech, and now you have Palantir trains its AI models in Gaza. And sells them to the British National Health Service through the Tony Blair Institute. So, it's an evolving human catastrophe, an evolving crime against humanity.
So geostrategy, technology. Hasan, what's your take?
I agree with the historic assessment from Yanis entirely. And I think there's this ongoing debate in American society that, to put into more reductive terms, I would say is like the Noam Chomsky approach. Israel as an aircraft carrier, the materialist interpretation, versus the Mersheimer offensive realist approach of the impact of the lobby. I find myself at the center of both of these arguments because one cannot exist without the other. By my estimation, there's no other comparison to any historic ally that like the unbelievable amount of power and the influence capabilities that Israel has never been afforded to another country. There's no equivalence. There's no English lobby that is anywhere near as remotely as powerful as the Israeli lobby is. And the reason for that is all of the examples that Yanis just gave. Israel has been afforded
hands on
the opportunity
screen.
to...
Must be another auto shocker. Hey. Very interesting. I was wondering if anyone noticed. It looked like he was on his phone just then. Somebody better start drinking.
Intercept and...
Well, that's also false. What? Oh, sorry. Like Yanis is portraying it like some overarching agenda by a nefarious coalition of countries trying to further colonialism. I don't think they care that much. They just want money. I put my book recommendation. Thanks. Claris in the house. The entire global power structure is banking on the idea that Americans won't revolt. Very interesting position, Claris. Because like I was talking about my position on, the revolution the other day. I think it was in Theory Thursdays. And like I still think that like the actual revolution that needs to happen needs to still come from a place which is very much like the advanced core of world capitalism. And so like, all bets are on. Like, will Americans revolt or not? Will they overthrow capitalism from within the imperial core? Like, that would just be an absolute game changer. And that's why I spend a lot of time on American politics. I've been asked that in the past. I just concentrated on Australian politics for, like, you got to get involved with the politics of the core, man. So important. So fucking important. I still believe that there is a big part of like theory on socialism that is lacking. About like the big question is like, how do you stimulate the American Revolution 2.0? If we made this into a drinking game, there would be writing "died from alcohol poisoning" in our obituaries. Could you imagine? The streamer who caused multiple bouts of alcohol poisoning. All right.
And sometimes subvert American democracy.
No one contribution to influence as much as the Israel lobby is just provably false. Qatar has equal investments just in unis, not politics.
By way of APAC.
Yeah. Yes. So good. So true. This rest of the world, American people, come on. Yeah, like it would be such a different game if the imperial core, if Americans rose up against like capitalistic interests and like fought capital and reconstituted somehow, had the American Revolution 2.0, but not in like the Christian nationalist sense that is probably coming. But like, a socialized version of their current system. Like the rest of the world would like have to follow suit. It'd just be a game changer. I don't think Americans have it in them. No, they do. They have latent potential. But it'd be like such a shit fight, won't it? Like that Professor Zhang commentary on like all the different varying bureaucracies that are militarized within the American system. Like what a shit fight it will be. There'll be a large fracturing of America before some level of stabilization. Can we have a little revolution as a treat? Clarice, APAC isn't the only pro-is-not-rail lobby. It's just more visible. The small APAC argument is bad faith. It's just like a valve being blocked at the heart and someone saying it's just a blood vessel. It's just one blood vessel. Interesting.
By numerous advocacy groups, and a similar problem persists in the UK as well. I was, a recipient of the influence of the Israel lobby in the UK this past week. That's why we're having this conversation remotely, and that would not happen. That like no other country has this opportunity, and that would not happen if Israel wasn't such an important aspect of colonial expansion for Western interests, for Western capital in particular, in a resource-rich region. So it's a bit of both. But there is an unprecedented level of access, and I think now we're at an impasse. We're at a turning point in this relationship for the first time ever. A lot of people will say, like Tucker Carlson's of the world will say, oh, well, Israel's the reason why we went to Iraq. That's bullshit. Pardon my language. I don't agree with that. I think that it's not a secret that Benjamin Netanyahu certainly was influential and pushed America into going to war with Iraq. But this was events that were set in motion far before Benjamin Netanyahu came and spoke in front of Congress, right? This was pure capitalism, capitalist imperialism. There were petroleum interests in Iraq, and they wanted to overtake the Iraqi government and take away the nationalized oil industry and give it away to private interests. And they did so successfully. It was one of the first ministries and the only ministry that remained intact in Iraq in the aftermath of shock and awe was the Ministry of Energy. As a matter of fact, that was the only ministry that wasn't bombed. It was the only ministry that they went in and overtook. There's a reason for it. They already had the oil maps planned out many years prior to the invasion. I believe since the 90s, Dick Cheney was personally demanding this take place. And they took advantage of the fervor after 9/11 to implement this alongside the expansion of the surveillance state, which we suffer from to this day. But the reason why I say that we're at an impasse is because Donald Trump, not in the second term, but in the first term, actually changed a lot of things about our relationship with Israel. Of course, Israel had always been an influential country in American interest. It played an advisory role in American foreign policy, specifically in Middle East and North Africa. But Trump won in the aftermath of the JCPOA, came in with hundreds of millions of dollars of Adelson money. At the time it was Sheldon Adelson, and now it's Miriam, after little opposition from the Democrats.